Hello, everyone, and welcome to the P1 Broadcasting Channel. You've got Murph, you've got the Freebird, Caleb Brashear, and we are live from the virtual EchoPark Speedway in Atlanta, Georgia, for the Folds of Honor 250 in the AMA Outland Custom Arms Grand National Series. Caleb, they took Atlanta, it was beautiful, and they turned it into a restrictor plate track, and here we are. Talk to me about the AMA's history here. We've already been here once this year.
Yeah, we have. We already been here once earlier in the season. That was actually the second race of the season. It was actually a night race, which is a little bit different than what we're going to be doing today. It's going to be hot. It's going to be in the daytime, which should be a little bit slower for these cars. Just a little bit harder to navigate. But realistically, the history here in the AMA, we've raced here 5 times already, and 5 different winners we've had here. Across the AMA's history, at least in the Grand National side. Some of the drivers that we have here, the only one that's still racing here in the race here tonight that has won here in Atlanta is Brian Sharp. He won the 2024 race, the fall 2024 race a couple years ago, and he's the only one that's out here that's won here in the past, and he's done pretty well in the other restrictor plate races here in the AMA. So it should be, let's see if he's able to get his first win of the season here. See if he could try to repeat what he did back in 2024. Other than that, it's pretty much been, your stereotypical plate racing that we've had here in the past. And that's pretty much all we've got. Lap times, we should be looking around 32 seconds for Q, 30.5 for race laps. And with it being plate racing, it either goes 1 or 2 ways. It'll be green for the majority of the race, or it will be a caution fest. And hopefully we get the latter of that too, and we get a fairly green, clean race here tonight, Murph.
You know, this track for most of its history was known for clean, green, long-run races. Originally conceived in 1958, built and opened in 1960. It was the brainchild of NASCAR legends Joe Weatherly and Curtis Turner, some of the same drivers that were involved in the construction of the Charlotte Motor Speedway a little bit later on. When it was originally built, Caleb, this track was the second largest racing facility in the United States, behind only the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And racing in Atlanta, though, goes back a lot further than racing at this track. So originally there was the Lakewood Speedway, which was at the fairgrounds in Atlanta. That, of course, is the scene from the famous scene from the end of Smokey and the Bandit. They're running a late model stock car race there. That's where the NASCAR cars and the USAC Gold Crown cars today ran. And they came out here in 1960. And this track was originally a 1.522 miles originally around, and it was a true oval, Caleb. Think like Homestead, but with even shorter straightaways. The layout of the corners and the back straight remains the same. It was turned into a quad oval in 1997, and it was never repaved until it was reconfigured into the current configuration in 2022. It's the same 1.54 miles. It's the same basic layout. 28 degrees of banking in the turns, though, versus 24. 5 degrees of banking on the straights. They smoothed out a lot of the bumps. They made the pavement ultra smooth, and as a result, Caleb, we see the restrictor plate racing that we see today. This current configuration, by the way, was designed with the input of iRacing. So the sim that you're watching had an impact on the way that this track is laid out. The overall track record, absolute track record, is owned by Billy Boat. 1998, a Dallara IR7 for the Indy Racing League, 224.163 miles an hour, 24.732 seconds. The current track record on this layout, the higher bank layout, Josh Berry and a Ford Mustang GT in the NASCAR Cup Series, 29.361. The NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Grand National Series record, Christian Eckes, 2025 Bennett Transportation and Logistics 250, 30.402. we do not expect to come close to that in qualifying, do we, Caleb?
No, we do not. As I said earlier, just in the AMA notes, qualifying is about a second and a half slower due to, well, this being a plate race. Obviously, you being in a pack is going to be a lot faster than being by yourself. So qualifying times should be about a second and a half slower. Like we said, Ryan O'Donohue in the pack earlier has done a 31-0. If we look at the qualifying record, as I said earlier, is a 32-0, and that was set in the spring race last year in terms of qualifying laps, and that was during a nighttime session, or at least a later evening session with much cooler track temps. So they should be around a 32.5, I would imagine, for Q times, but once we get into the race, those lap times should be around the 31-second range.
They should. One of the other things that we don't talk about, and I failed to mention it, is we've got the practice speeds up. Ryan O'Donohue, currently fastest, 178.718 miles an hour, is this track does have a road course. And you can kind of see it there in the middle of the track. They used to run GTPs here. Can you believe that, Caleb?
I mean, that era of IMSA, they ran a lot of rolls. I mean, they ran Vegas, they ran Homestead. They basically ran everything back in those 90s IMSAs. They basically ran every single racetrack you could think of during that era.
Yeah, 2.522 mile road course. The road course track record here, Juan Manuel Fangio II, and perhaps one of the greatest sports cars ever produced, the Eagle Mark III, Caleb. Flew around here 2.5 miles in a minute 13.514 in a road course car. That's hauling the mail, brother.
It absolutely is. And the road course, the infield road course, is kind of more straightforward. Obviously, rolls are kind of straightforward, and once they get to the 1.5 mile lengths, not like Daytona or even Pocono for that matter, it's kind of all the same basic layout. You know, you got your turn one, you turn in at turn one, you make a right-hander hairpin, and you basically back on Speedway. But those GTPs were absolutely hauling back in the 90s there, Murph.
You know, they most certainly do. Most certainly were. Looking at the time charts, also want to welcome in. We've got a great crowd forming here tonight. Shelby Carricker already in the chat. Thank you so much, Shelby, for your support of P1. Do want to thank all of the drivers on the track before we get started. Want to thank all the fans in the stands for everything that you do for P1. Make sure you hit the like button on the video, ring the bell, subscribe to the channel. You too can get in on all of the iRacing fun. How about a name? And Caleb, looking at practice speeds, how about this name that's second on the board, Vance Fisher? That's not a name that we see up top too awful lot. I know that practice doesn't mean all that much here, but Vance Fisher, second quick. Then Kendall Paul, Greg Evans, you would expect to see those two, the top two in points. Say Lewis Hayes rounds out the top five in the Robert Turnbull special. Sam Crow, Trevor Ryan, Mark Padgett, John Houchins, and David Dunwoody, your top 10. I would expect to see some fireworks out of David Dunwoody and Brian Sharp tonight. Both of those drivers, very good restrictor plate racers. They are here tonight in a somewhat shorter field. 21 cars signed in. Christopher Logan has not taken time. That's why you do not see him on the board. But Caleb, with a shorter field, a lot of people taking summer vacations, that bodes well for a caution-free race. It also bodes well for guys being able to work through the pack and make some moves, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And, you know, it basically means, especially with super speedway racing, it really allows a lot of, you know, the drivers that we talk about in the mid-pack, even further back, to make a chance at the run at the front here. We've seen a lot of guys earlier. I was actually looking at the stats earlier on, and you know who had the fastest lap back in one of the 2024 Atlanta races was Ted Craven. He had the fastest lap by nearly 0.2 of a second in the fall race in 2024. So, and just goes to show anything can happen at these super speedway races. You know, you get to see a lot of the midfield and some guys further back kind of make a run for possibly getting wins here.
Yeah, I mean, anything can happen in one of these restrictor plate races, as evidenced by the fact that I brought home a trophy in one of these in the AMA Truck Series a
That
couple of
goes a
years
long
ago.
way. That goes
Yeah,
a long way, guys.
yeah. If you're seeing me winning a race in the truck, something wild had to happen, right? Uh, we've already got a car out on the track. It is Troy Carricker, and so we're going to go ahead and join Troy as he rolls out onto the Atlanta Motor Speedway. There you see his car, number 94. He's already headed out onto the banking. He's past the pit entry, and we're going to go ahead and follow Troy as he makes his qualifying effort. Are we to assume here, Caleb, that this is going to be a lap 2 qualifier here at Atlanta tonight?
I would assume so. Your speeds here are about 170 miles an hour in terms of solo car pace. And you see Troy Carricker come across the line. He hit about 167, so he is going to be a little bit down on this first lap. However, it looks like he's running that bottom there, so he might be a one and done on his first lap. He absolutely hugs that red line there, gets up to about 173 miles an hour before he gets into turn 3 and hugs that white line again. That's typically what you always see here on the super speedways here. Just hugging the white line in Q. We'll see. Does he cut the apron? No, he does not. Cuts a little bit of the quad oval. First lap, a 32.0 from Carricker there.
Yeah, it's a good first lap from Troy Carricker. We'll watch the second one from outside the car. Still right along that line. If you've ever seen the Dale Jr. download where he talks about running laps at Talladega, you hug that line because deviating from the absolute bottom. Well, Caleb, you're just adding feet to the lap. And so Troy Carricker right around the bottom. Here he comes. We'll see if he cuts the dog leg this time. He does not. Across the line, Troy Carricker, 31.981, and that's good for the provisional pole for Troy Carricker. He is really one of the only drivers still out there. There's Vance Fisher. Fisher is coming across the line to complete his second lap. Of course, Fisher was second quick in practice, Caleb. There are only 4 cars, along with Franco Alvarez and Matthew White. Alvarez jumps to the provisional pole, that have even taken time. There's only 4 cars that have even loaded into the qualifying session to run for the Simshop pole award here at 2 minutes and 30 seconds left.
Yeah, and that's mainly due most of these guys know that, well, you can pretty much start at the back of this thing, and if you're smart with the moves you make, you can easily get up towards the front. They know it's a long race, 163 laps. They got plenty of time to move their way up towards the front here. So that's probably why most of these guys aren't taking time. I do see Kendall Paul has put his car out onto the track, so maybe now you're starting to see a couple more drivers. Matthew White, John Houchins also throwing their hat in the ring here in the Q session.
Yeah, Kendall Paul waited until exactly 2 minutes to go before he pulled his car out onto the course. It is ideal weather, Caleb. 82 degrees on the track, or 82 in the air, 97 on the track. Wind is out of the north here at 8 miles an hour, and so what that means is it is giving you it's blowing across. It's blowing across the straightaways. You've got the wind at your back entering turn 3 and on your nose going into turn number 1, and so that's the wind situation, but it's not a huge deal here at 7-8 miles an hour as we wind down toward time for the end of the qualifying session. Kendall Paul is out. David Dunwoody has jumped in his car. He's going to try to turn a lap as well. I have a feeling there was some chicken being played, Caleb, when it came to who was going to turn a lap for that Simshop Pole Award and who was not.
Yeah, and you typically do see that quite a bit in these super speedways, and you mainly see that a lot on the IndyCar side. On the IndyCar side, they're trying to get their engine oil temps up to snuff, but a lot of these guys are just kind of waiting until the last second. Maybe the track will cool off a little bit over the course of the qualifying run, but we'll see what Kendall Paul here. I'm currently looking through turns 3 and 4. We'll see what he's able to do. Cuts the apron here, coming across the start-finish line.
Yeah, Kendall Paul way down on the apron. His second lap, good enough for 31.852. That is going to jump him to the top of the board. Here comes David Dunwoody. He's rounding turn number 4. He's coming to get his second lap, and this will be all David Dunwoody gets. 32.213. That'll move him to 7th. So he does get to start a little bit ahead of where he would have been had he not set that lap. But it doesn't make a huge difference in terms of where he's going to start, Caleb. On the pole with a lap at 171.273 miles an hour, it is Kendall Paul. Franco Alvarez will join him on the front row, 171.0888 miles an hour. Matthew White, so strong in his debut in the AMA Outland Custom Arms Grand National Series, is 3rd. Vance Fisher is 4th. John Houchins, Troy Carricker, David Dunwoody, the only remaining cars to take time. They'll line up 4th through 7th. Trevor Ryan, the first starter on iRating, is 8th. Mark Paget and Joshua Zorn will start 9th and 10th. 11th is going to be Greg Evans, point leader. He's the points leader. Ryan O'Donohue, teammate, will go from 12th. They'll be followed by Justin Osterman and David Farnan. Mike Rigney, Colby Pierce, 15th and 16th. Say hey, Lewis Hayes. He'll go from 17th. Ted Craven, Brian Sharp, Sam Crow will line up through 20th. And shotgun on the field, number 70, Christopher Logan. He did not take time either. And so there's Christopher all the way at the back. 21 cars have signed in today for Atlanta. And that's your starting grid. Pace car, of course, has the bumper in the way of our preferred camera angle. But there we go, looking back toward Franco Alvarez. And there you are, your Simshop Pole Award winner, Kendall Paul. www.simshop.com, Caleb. Just keep driving. Looking back from the pace car, Caleb, kicking up the dust on the apron.
Very dusty. Time, well, this is actually a much later race start than I was expecting. I was expecting this to be around a 6 o'clock start, but we're actually starting 7 o'clock sim time. So we might get into a night stint at the end of this thing. Yeah, there's the current conditions. The track's already dropped 3 degrees. The wind is starting to calm down. The sky is clear. I bet we're going to see the lights come on before the end of this thing, Caleb, as the field is already headed down to turn 3. One of the things that we have not talked about and did not talk about earlier is this. The pit entry, as we get ready for the pace car to pull off. Barney has the green flag in the air. We're going to talk about the pit entry here a lot, Caleb, as we come into the restart zone. Barney has the green in the air.
Green, green, green.
Away we go. Green flag is out at Atlanta. 163 laps for the AMA Outland Custom Arms Grand National Series. Already working down to turn 1 and already 2x2, Caleb.
Yes, they are indeed. And Kendall Paul didn't really get the greatest jump there. Franco Alvarez still to his outside. 2x2, about 10 rows back here, all still at the moment. We see one car to the apron. I believe he's going to drop back. I'm not able to make out who that is.
It's Greg Evans. He's pulled out of line. He's going to go straight to the back of the field as they work 2x2 up at the front. Kendall Paul has now cleared Franco Alvarez, and he will go to the lead. Does Kendall Paul. There they are. There's your running order as they stand. Kendall Paul in front of the 29 and Matthew White. They got John Houchins and David Dunwoody on the bottom to help him out. You have the cars of Franco Alvarez and Vance Fisher up at the top, and not a lot of help at the top right now. Just those two, and it looks like Vance Fisher's trying to get himself back in line. He can't quite do it. David Dunwoody's going to pull back up on the tailgate to John Houchins as they head toward lap number 3.
Yes, they are indeed. And I remember from the last time in the spring race is that the bottom line in the Grand National Series was the dominant line throughout the majority of this race here in the spring race. And in the truck series is actually opposite. It was the high line. So, and it also worked like that at Talladega when we raced there earlier season, as well as Daytona. The bottom line for the Grand National cars seems to be the more dominant line. It's very hard to get a run on the high side, and you can see we're already just going single file. Everybody just running the bottom, playing it safe here earlier on. I don't think we'll see any moves. Probably for the first 40 laps of the stage, and then once it's final go, we'll make it 2x2 here. You still see Vance Fisher on that Tabasco fiasco on the high side, but he hasn't been able to slot down at all. Still working around that 7th place spot with Troy Carrick on his inside.
Yeah, we've got the camera on Vance Fisher, and there you go. You can see it from the P1 airship. Everybody is lined up on the bottom except for Vance Fisher. The first car kind of ducking out of line. You kind of saw it just in the background. That's the number 1 of Ted Craven, the teddy bear. He's trying to work the high side. He's in 15th. He's in 13th spot though, Caleb. Not a lot of people up there driving around. Everybody's just kind of trying to make it through this first stage, and this is kind of how restrictor plate races go. The first 2 stages are very quiet until you get to the end of the stage and people start racing for the stage points. It'll get nuts for about 5 laps, and then everybody will calm down, settle down, simmer down, and make the mileage. We are going to have a green flag pit stop in the final stage, Caleb. They cannot make the full 73 laps on a tank full of fuel, and so we're going to see green flag stops at least for fuel. We don't believe the tires matter all that much here, do we?
No, they don't, and they never really did on super speedway races. The tires here really don't matter that much, except for pit exit. You're able to gain a few tenths on pit exit if you take a fresh set of tires, but even then, once you do that, well, you spend a lot of time in the box. So I reckon in that 3rd stage, we'll probably see quite a few number of drivers take fuel only when it comes to that green flag stop that we have to make in that 3rd stage, or just a stop in general. And you'll see probably a lot of the drivers maybe even just take rights only when it comes to the end of these first 2 stages.
Yeah, I mean, most certainly so. And looking at the running order, I do not expect to see any significant movement among these top drivers until we get to about lap 40 or so. Everybody just trying to run the run out the string here.
As we say that, it looks like Ted Craven, the old teddy bear, taps the wall. Right, he got nervous. Commentators cursed right when I say that. He was actually moving his way up to the front of the field there. Started in 18th, was up to 8th. Now drops back all the way to the rear of the field there. Not able to quite make out what exactly happened there besides that wall tap, but now he's almost lost the pack entirely coming across the start-finish line. So he went from 8th all the way back to the back of the field just in that short amount of time, and he'll have to do all that progress once again to try to get back up towards the front.
Yeah, they do. David Dunwoody trying to make a rally on the outside. He has got John Houchins now in tow, and Dunwoody has been able to work the side draft. He pulled out a line, and he's going to go for the lead on Kendall Paul right around the outside. David Dunwoody looking awful strong around that outside. He made that look easy, Caleb. He did not have a whole lot of help, did David Dunwoody. John Houchins now goes to second, and I wonder, they've got help from Justin Osterman up there. I wonder if Kendall Paul is trying to fall back in the draft maybe to save a little bit of fuel.
It could be the case, but at that point, we know the tank can go this. We know it could go the distance of at least 1 stage, possibly even 2 stages, if we get a number of cautions. So fuel saving is a possibility once you get to the 3rd stage, but this early on, maybe it's just a showing of, hey, maybe David Dunwoody is thinking, hey, why don't I just try to get the most laps led earlier on? And you see Justin Osman, right, Mr. Excitement, John Houchins, Kendall Paul, they're all kind of riding the high side. Maybe the high line is getting a little bit quicker here as we get a couple laps into this run.
Whoa, Colby Pierce! Colby Pierce got big time loose, Caleb, going through the tri-oval. He cut from the top of the racing surface to the bottom. Just about ran into the nose of Matthew White. White lifted to get out of the way, but Colby Pierce with a big slide, lap 13, just about came to grief going through the front side. And now the line has moved up to the middle. They're no longer wrapping the bottom. They've moved now to the middle of the speedway, Caleb.
Yeah, it's just kind of how the track is evolving right now. And I bet by the time we get to the end of stage number 1 and we get more and more worn on these tires, that it'll probably be the high line by the time once we get to the lap 45 at the end of the stage, and they're all starting to spread out towards that high line. The bottom line was dominant earlier on. Now it's the top that's going to go to the front here.
You know, it most certainly is. From the drone, do want to thank Whiplash SimCams for these amazing images. If you're an iRacing broadcaster, photographer, hit them up with whiplashsimcams.com. You can have these exact same angles as we watch Justin Osterman and John Houchins try and run down David Dunwoody, who's got the lead. And how about Colby Pierce showing the muscle? He's up to fifth, and he's leading the bottom line. He's going to go for the fourth spot on Kendall Paul and get it. Colby Pierce is coming to the front, Caleb.
Yeah, it seems like that bottom line's kind of forming back up just a little bit with that 3-car train. Vance Fisher kind of splitting the two between the top and the bottom, also helping them. And you can see him working that side draft in the corners there, getting right upside. Well, he doesn't this time around against John Houchins and Kendall Ball, but he has a good helping from behind with Matthew White. Matthew, last time around in our last race was his debut, and he was running strong, ended up getting pole position in Chicagoland, but unfortunately did a money shift at the start of stage number 2, and that was his day done. He looks like he wants to get some redemption, and right now he's pushing Colby Pierce on that bottom line, trying to get back up towards the front.
Yes, he does. John Houchins tries to cut down in front of Colby Pierce. It doesn't work out. Colby Pierce with a big lift. He lets Houchins in front of him, and then Houchins jumps back up into the high line. That'll bring Kendall Paul and Franco Alvarez. The top 5 now have a bit of a breakaway that cut all of Pierce's momentum as Matthew White will drive to the high side, and Pierce, well, he's trying to drag Troy Carricker along, but they may have Colby Pierce temporarily here hung out to dry. The front 5, front 6, front 7, front 8 now have all single filed, and now Matthew White's going to jump to the bottom. He's going to see if he can't make a run up toward the front.
Yeah, but the problem is he doesn't really have any help on that bottom side there. Colby Pierce is right behind him. Now he's got Troy Carricker. Troy Carricker slots to the bottom, and the bottom line trying to form back up, and it seems like Matthew White's got a really good run going on in the front stretch, but as they go across the start-finish line, he'll drop a little bit. Well, no, he actually is still gaining on that front stretch. He's got a really big run going across the front stretch, and now he's fighting for second right now.
You know, he most certainly is. David Dunwoody jumps to the bottom. He's going to shut that run off. Dunwoody will get back up to the high side. He'll have a push from teammate Justin Osterman. Mr. Excitement runs in second spot on that high line, but Matthew White will power to the bottom. He's going to try to go for the lead here. He's got help from Troy Carricker and Colby Pierce.
Yeah, they're going to go side by side as they come across the start-finish line. David Dunwoody on the high side, trying to fend off the new rookie in town that made a pretty impressive debut back in Chicagoland. We'll see if it's the veteran versus the rookie here, but Matthew White's got an edge going through turn number 2.
Matthew White does have the edge going through turn number 2, but Dunwoody pulls ahead just a little bit. Osterman gets up in the wall, and that's going to put him 3 wide for second. John Houchins is going to fill that hole. Houchins will go to second, but that little wall tap from Justin Osterman got the top line just disorganized enough that Matthew White was able to pull in the lead, and now we're gonna continue to battle. Dunwoody secures second. Troy Carricker.
Loose car saves it.
That is
Colby
Pierce. Yeah, it's Colby Pierce. Let's get the camera on Colby, and we need to get back and see what happened to the 42 of Colby Pierce here, because that was just about a mess. Here we go. He's off the nose of Franco Alvarez. Looked like Vance Fisher got involved. Pierce, with a masterful job of driving, gets that thing down on the apron. He just about spun it out, but Colby Pierce saves the race car and saves probably the back half of the field with that action. Unfortunately for Colby, he's lost the draft, Caleb.
Not only has he lost the draft, we have 2 packs at the moment because of that. Kendall Paul has about a second and a half lead over Franco Alvarez, leading this second pack here. It's a top 6 that have broken away because of that half spin going through turns 1 and 2. And now, if these guys want to try to catch back up front before the stage ends and get some stage points, well, they're going to have to work together to try to catch the top 6. And, well, the good news is more cars in the pack usually is faster than one that is smaller. But these guys need to start working together, and right now Franco Alvarez has Mark Padgett to his inside, so they're not really working together to try to catch that back towards back up towards that front pack here. The front 6 is going to break away.
Well, and the front 6 is really about 5.5. Matthew White is blinking badly at the front of this field. You can see his car appearing and disappearing in front of David Dunwoody. We've got it in the blimp. Let's take a look off the gearbox of Kendall Paul, and that's the gap between the two packs. It's about 2.5 seconds between Kendall Paul and Mark Padgett. There you see it, and that second group is not faster than the lead pack right now, Caleb. They are not closing at all. Last time through, Kendall Paul was about a 1/10 quicker than Mark Padgett, so they're not gaining either.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty equal here. See, the main difference is that, well, both packs are kind of working together. Now there's a little bit of jostling in that second pack there. But the front 6, they've been single file ever since it broken up, and they've been fairly, cooperative with each other. They know if they work together, they can maintain pace over the second group there. And then when it gets about 5 to go, then they can start making moves to try to win stage number 1. But right now, with just under 20 laps to go in the stage, they know it's a little bit too early to start fighting. And once they do, they're going to lose time to the likes of Franco Alvarez, Mark Padgett, and the rest of them.
Yes, they are 3 wide in the back of this pack. You got Greg Evans. He puts Vance Fisher and Ryan O'Donohue 3 wide. Now Brian Sharp will drop to the bottom. Fisher makes contact with Brian Sharp. Even though they're a couple of seconds away from the lead, this second pack is still racing hard. You saw Brian Sharp getting bounced around. There he is, and they're going to have to be careful, or it's going to be 3 different packs now because Ryan O'Donohue has separated himself from Sharp and Fisher, and they continue to do battle. That's for 13th and 14th. And meanwhile, the front 6, well, they just continue to motor away. There's a battle for the lead. Matthew White has climbed to the top side on Justin Osterman. Mr. Excitement looking to maintain the lead, and he'll do so across the line this time. Dunwoody now going to pull up behind Matthew White and get even with Troy Carricker. Houchins and Kendall Paul, the 2 Interstellar teammates, I think they're just kind of keeping the lay of the land. Big wiggle for John Houchins coming off of turn 2.
Yes, it is indeed. They're going to almost 3 wide there. David Dunwoody using that third lane, but isn't quite alongside Matthew White. He's going to slot in on the high side there. Troy Carricker to his inside. Justin Osterman leads them away here at Atlanta. He took the lead from Matthew White, and now he's right in that middle lane here. And we look at Osterman, he has 3 wins in AMA history in the other series. The only one in the truck series he's got in the AMA truck series is in a super speedway race. So we know Osterman is very good at these types of tracks here, the super speedway races. We know he can run well here in 16 starts in super speedways here in the AMA. He has 9 top 10s. So Mr. Excitement really knows how to go fast around these super speedways here, Murph.
Yes, he does, and this is kind of his specialty. Osterman is worth the price of admission on any track, but these particular tracks are kind of where he shines. Same for Dunwoody. You see Troy Carricker up there. He runs pretty good just about everywhere. Matthew White we've got a very small sample size, but he's been fast in every race he's entered. Houchins and Kendall Paul, likewise, very good at these kinds of races. And that second pack isn't doing themselves any good, Caleb. They're 2x2, 3 rows deep, 4 rows deep now, fighting over that 8th spot. They need to get organized and need to get single file, and preferably they'd like to get some teammates up there together. There's Greg Evans, but he's got Trevor Ryan behind him. Those are not teammates. Neither is Franco Alvarez, so the team cars are split up. O'Donoghue and Paget are with that DVD Motorsports crew, but Caleb, you got to get organized, and you got to start doing some serious drafting if you want to catch the front group, and they are not yet doing it. The other part is Ted Craven has now dropped back to Colby Pierce, and those two are friends. I got to wonder if maybe that's kind of Ted saying, look, I want to stay out of any mess that happens. I'll drop back and help Colby out so he doesn't go a lap down. But they've stabilized. They are about 13 seconds off of the pack here, Caleb. But as long as they've got drafting help, they're not gonna go a lap down. But that is interesting that Ted Craven would drop back there and help out Colby Pierce. Meanwhile, front of the field, these guys are getting serious too, and all that's doing. You got Evans, Alvarez, O'Donoghue now very organized, and they have chopped a half a second off of this front group. Troy Carricker, big wiggle, and he saves it. Now he's in the wall.
I think these cars are coming, and caution's out. Caution is out.
Car in the wall. That is David Farnan. The number 23 machine has had an accident coming off of turn number 4. Farnan will bring out the first yellow at lap 34. Yellow flags, of course, in the AMA, brought to you by Admin Box. Race control at the touch of a button, www.adminbox.com. Here we go. Here's Farnan, Caleb. He's going through turn 3. He gets very loose. Almost the exact same thing we saw at the front of the field with Troy Carricker. He wiggles, saves it, wiggles, saves it, and unfortunately, Brian Sharp can't stay off of him. Around Farnan goes. I don't think he hits anything. Just a spin, and caution flies on the Speedway.
I did want to point out, right before you cut to the front of that pack there with the cameras, David Dunway was at the lead of this thing, and he got massive loose off of turn number 2. And then we saw Troy Carricker do that. And then, well, a few seconds later, another car got loose. It seems like these tires are just, for a lot of these drivers, are just starting to get looser and looser, and to a point where, well, now it's starting to kill the right rear.
Yeah, there goes Matthew White. He's going to go into the pit lane. I was going to say it may not be tire wear in terms of tread depth, but it could be tire heat. We see that a lot in the IndyCar side where they'll get super hot and lose all the grip, but they don't wear out. I think that could be kind of what you're seeing here, Caleb. It's not the wear, it's the temperature. And certainly the way the setup works here at Atlanta, usually you wear out one corner or another when you do these kinds of races at a track like this, and this setup perhaps favors the right rear. Maybe it's just getting too hot and losing all the grip. White, Farnan, Sahey Lewis Hayes, Colby Pierce, and Ted Craven all are on the pit lane, lap 36 of 163. Do want to thank Outland Custom Arms for their support of the AMA. Outland Custom Arms, their mission is to provide hunters and outdoor sportsmen with precision-crafted firearms rooted in Oregon's rugged legacy. Every build is hand-tuned for performance, reliability, and the uncompromising pursuit of the perfect shot. That is Outland Custom Arms. Do want to thank them for their support. Looks like we're going to have about a 5-lap shootout, Caleb. Maybe as many as 7 for the end of the first stage here.
Yeah, basically everything we talked about in the organization of groups, well, that basically just got thrown out the window with this caution here. It's basically going to be a 7-lap shootout, and it might be a little bit of a argy-bargy happening to try to get the win in stage number 1, or at least a very good result in stage number 1 to try to get some points here.
It most certainly could be. And stage points are always a thing, right? You're in a championship. Greg Evans with a massive 237-point lead over Kendall Paul in the championship right now. Of course, this is a chase for the championship format, so the top 12 will advance. Christopher Logan is currently in that transfer spot. And you got to be looking to score those stage points if you're somebody on the outside looking in, like Justin Osterman. David Dunwoody is not all that secure. He's an 8th in the championship. John Houchins is 5th. Kendall Paul is 2nd to Greg Evans. Troy Carricker is 7th. So those drivers looking to score some stage points. Greg Evans is 7th at the moment. Ryan O'Donohue is 8th. And so, you're looking here, if you're O'Donohue and Evans, you're going to try to make up some spots over these, 8 to 9 laps here. When we go back to green, you're going to want to be making up some spots, trying to get some stage points. They are valuable, Caleb.
Yes, they are indeed. Even despite Greg Evans having a over 200-point lead over Kendall Paul here, but basically everybody on back, we know it's going to get reset with the stage points. So every little point counts in terms of positioning and how easy your chase is going to be once the chase starts.
It is. Pace car ducks on off. Barney has the green flag in the air. We're going to watch this one from the grandstands as they file around the Atlanta Motor Speedway. That's the condominiums or the suites, the Speedway Club in the background as they roar off into turn 1. It wasn't so long ago, Caleb, that there was a massive grandstand at this part of the facility where you see those RVs parked up there. That was where the original grandstand was for the original oval.
Yeah, back in the back when this thing used to be kind of like Homestead.
Well,
I remember, yeah.
It was. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. I have been to this track in its original configuration, and we'll talk about that in a little bit as well. Justin Osterman leads David Dunwoody. They're 2x2 for 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Big loose from Troy Carricker again coming off of turn number 2. That'll allow John Houchins briefly to hold the advantage for the 3rd spot. Now more looseness from Carricker. He's having a bad time, Caleb, trying to hold that machine on the bottom.
Yes, he is indeed, and we saw him struggle with that right before that caution come out on the high side of turn number 4, and it looks like maybe it's just ill handling, maybe some tire heat is not going into favor of some of these drivers, but right now, barring that, he's not the only one that's struggling with possibly the tire heat and getting that right rear really hot. We saw multiple other drivers do it, and right now he's kind of falling to the back, riding that bottom line there. Trevor Ryan is going to go on the outside of him and take that 5th or that 6th place spot away from him, and he's dropped back to 7th.
Yeah, Troy Carricker's just trying to slide in line, get himself squared away so that he can finish this stage in some kind of good working order. Working lap 41 of a scheduled 45 here in the first stage. David Dunwoody starting to look to the bottom of Justin Osterman, takes a peek, drops it back inside. Franco Alvarez, Kendall Paul going to try to close up from 3rd and 4th. Alvarez, man, that car looked wicked free coming off of turn number 4, and that'll allow Kendall Paul to close right back up on Franco Alvarez. For Alvarez's credit, as he drops the inside, Justin Osterman spins it to the bottom. Does he save it?
Oh, Tokyo Drift from Mr. Excitement there.
He saves the race car. That's going to let David Dunwoody escape. And if I was Dunwoody, or really any of these drivers, I would start thinking about getting myself to the high side or the middle of the racetrack, because it does not look like you can hold that bottom for very much right now, Caleb. It is awfully loose down there. Troy Carricker has made it back to 4th or 5th, depending on how you run it. Alvarez slots into 2nd. Kendall Paul is going to go to 3rd. You see the smoke from Kendall Paul. It is an 8-way fight for the front spots. Brian Sharp, Colby Pierce are about a 1.5 seconds back, and then Greg Evans from 12th on back. That crew is dropping way back. There is another group that came and got tires. They are falling even further off the pace, trying to save their stuff as we head toward the end of the stage. 2 laps ago, 44 of 163. Alvarez looking to the bottom of Dunwoody.
Yeah, and you can see him fighting that car on the bottom side. They're going to go 2 by 2 down the back straightaway. Franco Alvarez on the bottom, David Dunwoody on the high side. He gets a little bit of a bump from Kendall Paul, and now Kendall Paul is going to slot alongside Franco Alvarez, and now it's Matthew White, Franco Alvarez, and David Dunwoody on the bottom, but Franco trying to run that high line as they come to get the white flag in the stage.
There was a big wiggle from Kendall Paul. He had to abandon the rear bumper, and David Dunwoody. Alvarez switched lanes. He went from the bottom to the top. He leads the top line now. Dunwoody has help from Matthew White and Trevor Ryan on the bottom. Now he jumps up in front of Alvarez to block the line. Here we come to end the first stage. Dunwoody v. Alvarez at the front. Can Matthew White snip him at the line? Dunwoody will run the middle. We're going to get 3 wide here to finish the stage, Caleb. Here they come toward the checkers. I don't know. It looked like Matthew White. They race on, though. There's the yellow flag. It's going to be Matthew White, Franco Alvarez, and David Dunwoody. Your top 3 to end Track Racer Stage Break number 1. Let's hope they're all not like that, Caleb. Or we're gonna need to break out the P1 bottle of Malox.
But very possibly that was quite a bit of a finish. Matthew White somehow able to get a really good run on the bottom there when the top side seemed like to be the dominant line, with Franco Alvarez also jumping David Dunwoody coming to the green checkered there.
You know, that's very true. The provisional top 10, and I'm going to call it provisional. Matthew White, Franco Alvarez, David Dunwoody, Trevor Ryan, Troy Carricker. The front 5, the second half, Vance Fisher, John Houchins, Kendall Paul, Brian Sharp, and Justin Osterman. Colby Pierce, and you see the cars already diving into pit lane. That is something that is unique about Atlanta. They pit off of They pit not off of turn 4, but at the entry to turn number 3 as we head down pit lane. The entire field will stop. I'm interested to see what happens with Pierce, Fernan, Craven, and Hey Lewis Hayes as they stopped at the beginning or at the end of under that initial yellow. Do they stay out? Do they come in? Everybody else is going to stop. Fernan in, Craven in, and Hey Lewis Hayes in. Now, those cars may do gas only. I don't know if they'll get tires, though. They may do gas only. Out goes Matthew White, 5.4 seconds in the box. So already the strategy is started to play here, Caleb. Matthew White, gas only. Lewis Hayes, gas only. So we're going to have some drivers here that do some different stuff, brother.
We will indeed. And you're talking about just the pit entry. It won't really affect too much under these stage cautions when all these guys come in. But in that stage number 3, well, that's going to be a little bit tricky. A lot of these guys practice, over the course of the season, braking on the banking here to get into pit lane. Well, now they got to brake in turn 3 and try to carry as much momentum as possible to not lose any time to anybody else. And there's really very few tracks on iRacing in terms of ovals in which you do pit off number 3. The other mile and a half that immediately comes to mind is Homestead. And then basically the other one is Gateway, which is kind of an intermediate short track type thing.
It kind of is. And here's the deal. When you have to enter on turn from not turn number 4, so you have to use an access road or you have to do it on an apron, and we do this in open wheel all the time. Those access roads and aprons are not clean. You saw it at the beginning of the race as the cars were coming up onto the racetrack, the dust that was being kicked up from the apron in turn number 1. I assure you, turn number 3 is the exact same way, Caleb. And so it is very, very slick down there, and it is very easy to get extremely loose, lose your race car, and either cross over that solid red line. If you do that, you get an unsafe pit entry. it's very easy to spin the car out, back it across the track into traffic, or even the outside wall. So you got to be very careful. Do want to congratulate Matthew White for his win in Track Racer Stage number 1. If you go to trackracer.com and you put in the web address just as it says in the comments, 5% of your order does go into the AMA end-of-year prize fund. And so both Track Racer and the AMA would appreciate you if you decided to order some new equipment. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, it's going to be interesting to me to see how Matthew White gets along here. Franco Alvarez repaired a ton of damage. He was in the pit lane for almost a minute, so too Colby Pierce. Mike Rigney repaired damage. Christopher Logan did so, as did Mark Paget. So there were some cars that got repair under that yellow as we get ready to head back to green.
Green flag, green flag.
Restart zone has been entered. Barney has thrown the green flag. Here we go. Stage number 2 is on, Caleb.
Yes, it is indeed. And Matthew White gets a really, really good jump over Trevor Ryan on the outside there. Right behind them, Troy Carricker, Kendall Paul going to go side by side. And it's fairly single file. Very early on in this stage, a lot of drivers are already swapping to, well, they were on the bottom, go through 1 and 2. Now they all swap to the top. So here we go. Well, let's see if the top side is going to prevail over the bottom like it did over the course of stage number 1, or early on if the bottom's going to be stronger early on in this stage. It is going to be slightly shorter than stage number 1, only by a few laps, but that really shouldn't affect too much in terms of how this track is going to wear over the course of the next basically 43 laps green flag running.
No, it's not. And, look, Matthew White is your current leader. The front 3 have a bit of a breakaway. You've got White, Carricker, Vance Fisher. They're the top 3. Kendall Paul looks on from P4, and they have all kind of sorted themselves out. We'll jump into blimp. And there's the field. It's more or less single file. There's Dave Farnan. You've really got to get back here to Justin Osterman and David Dunwoody racing along with Ted Craven, Sam Crow, Colby Pierce, Franco Alvarez involved in that fight. Really, you've got to go back to that group to see any kind of side-by-side action. Everybody else, just like they did in the first stage, trying to get it single file and just run out the laps, Caleb.
Yeah, most of these guys are just going to play it safe because, well, with these pack races, we all know of the big one. We really haven't gotten it too much in Atlanta in terms of the real-life stuff. There's been a couple big ones that have happened, but in terms of AMA, well, last time we were here, well, I'm sure, Murph, you remember that. That was quite a bit of a caution fest. A lot of drivers had supported damage. So a lot of these drivers are going to remember that and just say, hey, let's at least get to stage number 2. Then we can start playing it from there. And maybe with the 5 to go or 10 to go at the end of stage number 2, then we can start pushing these things. And considering that, well, we've seen a lot of drivers start getting loose over the course of about 30 laps. These guys are starting to think, okay, we got to preserve that right rear as well, at least in terms of keeping that heat down. So we won't see any drivers really push early on, at least for, I'd say, the first 25 laps of the green flag running. Then we can start, pushing a little bit harder, and the pack will start to close back up a little bit.
Yeah, no worries at all. And look, the front of the field, just kind of stroking along here, led by Matthew White, Troy Carricker, Vance Fisher, Kendall Paul, John Houchins. Everything is rather calm. You got Greg Evans. He motors along in 6th. He's got Ryan O'Donohue, Trevor Ryan, Joshua Zorn with him. But everybody's kind of spread out. There's no real action until you get back here, which is around Franco Alvarez. Now, he's trying to come back to the field. He was at the front at the end of that stage. He did take significant repair under the yellow flag. He did come back in and top his fuel tank off. And so Franco Alvarez looking to try to get back to the front. He gets underneath Christopher Logan, and he'll pull right up on the back of David Farnan here. So Franco Alvarez has moved from about 16th, he's moved all the way from the very back of this field on the restart, now up to the 12th spot. Gets under Brian Sharp, make that another. Franco Alvarez to 11th, and Franco Alvarez coming toward the front, Caleb.
Yes, he is indeed. He's going up towards the front. slowly but surely. But we know Franco Alvarez's talents. We know how quick he is over the course of the race, mainly in the short running here. But this is the first time we've seen him on a super speedway, so we'll have to see how he does over the course of just over 100 laps or so. But right now, he's got David Farnan, a driver who is making his AMA debut here in Atlanta. And right now, they got to catch up to Trevor Ryan because, well, they might lose him if they're just about a second. So they're going to have to try to catch up as quickly as they can, or they're going to lose the draft. And right now, Franco Alvarez looks to the outside of David. Well, it's fairly single file for most of this. And then you get to the second pack, right behind Franco Alvarez and David Farnan. Then it's a little bit of side-by-side. Joshua Zorn, Justin Osborne, Mr. Excitement, Ryan Sharp, the only winner here in Atlanta in the field here tonight. They're going to a little bit side-by-side action early on in this stage here on lap 59. They're going to go 3 wide off the corner. Joshua Zorn hits the wall pretty hard coming off turn number 4. He's going to drop a little bit back there, but they went 3 wide off the corner coming off turn number 4.
Yeah, it's funny. The front really 8 or 9 are more or less very stable. Franco Alvarez has now made it through into that 9th spot. The action is from 10th on back. You've got David Farnan leading David Dunwoody. The front 8 kind of have a gap back to Franco Alvarez, although he's going to have the draft. I don't think he's in danger of losing the front pack, although he was slower that last time through. The real battle has been from Farnan on back. These drivers have been stacked up on top of one another. These drivers have been stacked on top of one another, and truthfully, they've been fighting, and really, Caleb, they've been fighting to their own detriment, right?
Yeah, and it's fair. They're single file right now, but they've already lost time to the likes of Trevor Ryan, Ryan O'Donohue, and Greg Evans. Now, those guys have lost time to quite a bit of time to the top 5. Top 5 have broken away. Then you got the pack of 3 of Evans, Ryan, O'Donohue, and Trevor Ryan. 2 Ryans in there. And right now, Franco Alvarez, he has caught up to the 3 cars in front of him. Now, that is mainly due to him having a bigger pack behind him. And, basically, what is a 6-car pack versus a 3-car pack? Well, they're naturally going to catch that. And if they do link up here, they could possibly work with those 3 cars and try to gain as much time as possible to the top 5 to try to gain back all the time they've already lost.
Yeah, they do. And, it's one of those things, too, that, I always kind of think of these. I always kind of think of these things as, how do I stay safe, right? How do I stay safe until the end? Where would you want to be right now, Caleb, if you're running this race? Do you want to be where do you want to be, right? Do you want to be in the lead group? Do you want to be...
I personally would want to be. I personally would want to be up in front of the accident. That's always been my mindset. If it's a race where we know it's going to be a pack race, I want to be in front of the accident that happens early on in running. Drivers are going to, for the most part, drivers are going to play it very, very safe for about the first half of the race, and then from there it's game on. But the first half of the race, if you're up in front and you're around people that you can start to trust, you can really kind of be ahead of the accidents that are going to happen behind you, because the majority of the time the accidents that do happen on these super speedways in these stock cars is never really the first, first 2 or 3 rows of cars. It's always usually the 4th or 5th line back in which the accident happens. So my goal is always to be in the top 3 in the pack, or in this case, the top 5 single file. So right now, I would actually want to be in the top 5 group of where John Houchins, Kendall Paul, Vance Fisher, Carricker, and Matthew White all are, because I know I can avoid the accident that's going to happen behind me instead of being at the back of the field and trying to not quite arc break it, but try to navigate possibly the big one that happens right in front of me, only a couple laps in.
It can be, and here's the thing, and we're watching the second group. That's where the action is. Matthew White, Troy Carricker, Vance Fisher, Kendall Paul, and John Houchins. The front 5 have broken away. They are organized. They are single file. There's no change for position there. This is the second group, led by 6th place Greg Evans, then Ryan O'Donohue, David Dunwoody, Trevor Ryan, Justin Osterman, Franco Alvarez, Brian Sharp, David Farnan. As we got a car, we've got Brian Sharp, and Brian Sharp is in the wall hard. Brian Sharp is slow into the wall. Turn number 3. Let's see if he can. Oh! Contact Mike Rigney.
Right,
Caution is out. He's going to get collected by Christopher Logan. You could kind of see that happening in slow motion. And here's where it starts. Sharp gets high, tags the wall. Then he gets tagged by Colby Pierce. Then he kind of gets tagged. Then he kind of runs into David Farnan. And he's going to slide along the wall here. And poor Mike Rigney, he sees the car ahead of him on the wall. Sharp starts down the track, and by this point, Mike Rigney has nowhere to go. Gets kind of sideswipe action, and Rigney hard in the wall. And then Rigney's going to get collected by Sam Crow. Sam Crow's going to go up and grab the fence. Both of those cars have the meatball flag, Caleb, and we'll go back and look at Sam Crow's impact. And then Christopher Logan comes through and gets Brian Sharp again. There's Sam Crow. And Rigney gets the wall. He can't help it. He's coming down the track hard into Sam Crow. There's a shot for Crow as Rigney gets his car down the pit lane. My goodness gracious. Say Lewis Hayes. That is Say Lewis Hayes involved. Looks like Mark Padgett got a piece of that. That is not a good corner for that DVD Motorsports crew. And then Christopher Logan somehow from the very back of this is going to tag Brian Sharp. Let's watch on board from Christopher Logan. He gets to the outside of Mark Padgett here. And there's the contact to Sharp, and it just throws Sharp right back up the track, and nowhere for Christopher Logan to go. Hard into Brian Sharp. That cleans out, by my count, 5 automobiles. Sam Crow on the pit lane with a blown engine. The North Carolinian, that's not going to be a good end to his evening. Mark Padgett is on pit lane. There's his damaged race car. Christopher Logan has already is under tow. A minute 36 seconds. Mike Rigney is disconnected. Brian Sharp also towed back. That wiped out 5 machines, Caleb.
Yes, it did. And Mike Rigney, as we said, has already retired from the session here. Blown engine on that impact. Sam Crow was able to bring it back around the pit lane, but it seems like it is smoking with his automobile, as you said. So that's possibly day done for Sam Crow. At least for now, maybe he can get that thing repaired, but right now that thing's smoking, and I think his day is also done. Christopher Logan, as you said, he's got some massive damage, but thankfully it doesn't look like he's got any engine damage, so maybe he can get some suspension repaired on that. But Brian Sharp, well, for being in the wall, it seems like his car is the best off here. And right as I say that, Sam Crow has disconnected from the session. He has retired from this race.
Yes, just an unfortunate set of circumstances for both Sam Crow, Mike Rigney, and also really Mark Padgett. He's been on the pit lane for a minute and 15 seconds under repair. Christopher Logan, he is towing back. Same for Brian Sharp. Padgett did not make it out of the pit lane to avoid going a lap down, and so he had been a contender early on. Mark Padgett still under significant repair. And look, there are no small hits here at Atlanta. At these speeds, if you make contact, you're going to hit it hard, Caleb. And when you hit it hard, it's gonna break things. You know, Sam Crow, Mike Rigney immediately meatballed. Christopher Logan, significant damage. Sharp, significant damage. Mark Paget, he's just trying to see if he can't get that thing fixed. If he can get it back out there one lap down, he's going to be able to get the lucky dog and work on it some more when the stage break comes in another 19 laps. But that's just a tough break for all of those drivers.
It is indeed. Mark Paget is back out pit lane. He's still got right front damage on that 22 machine. So hopefully he's able to keep up enough speed to at least stay with the pack. I think that'd be the goal here. And then at the beginning or the end of stage number 2, he can get even more of that repaired. But good to know that he is able to get back out there and run. And Brian Sharp is still on pit lane, but pace car is off right now, and Matthew White is going to lead him back to green in stage number 2.
Green flag, green flag.
Yes, he is. Matthew White leads the field back to the green flag. It is a shortened field. You see Paget rejoin. He's got Ted Craven back there, and so he should be able to draft off of Ted Craven. Mark Paget should be able to maintain his position one lap down, and that would be huge because he'd get the lucky dog and be able to pit with the leaders and get more damage fixed. Big jump from Matthew White, though. Fisher and Troy Carricker, they're going side by side for second. Meanwhile, Kendall Paul has kind of secured fourth place. Greg Evans doesn't seem to want to get all over the back of Troy Carricker as the field kind of trying to get organized on the bottom here, Caleb.
Yes, they are indeed. A little bit opposite of what we saw at the beginning of the stage here. The bottom line seems to prevail, but Greg Evans and Troy Carricker are still trying to make the top side work as the high line as they open up on corner exit with Matthew White and Vance Fisher. Now they're going to go back to the bottom. It's going to be a little bit of a swap. Kendall Paul, third in line on the bottom. He's got John Houchins right behind him. And right now they clear Troy Carricker on the high side. And now the top 4 looking to break away. Ryan O'Donohue looks like he's also going to clear Troy Carricker before they get to turn number 1.
Yes, he does. So Ryan O'Donohue, he'll move into the 5th spot. And now Carricker having to defend on the high side from Franco Alvarez. Franco Alvarez has driven from the back of this field up to now the 7th spot. Remember, he was on pit lane under the first stage break with significant damage. Over a minute of repair took place on that 41 car. Whatever he's done, he's got it fixed up good enough to pull himself into the 6th spot just alongside Troy Carricker, who's now dropped to 7th, and there's not really a ton of help on that high line. Only John Houchins up there. Now Kendall Paul will jump up to the high side as Kendall Paul is going to take a look at maybe getting to Vance Fisher. Ryan O'Donohue on the bottom, and now the energy seems to be on the high side, Caleb.
It does indeed. They briefly looked like they were going to go 3 wide in the corner with Kendall Paul, Ryan O'Donohue, and John Houchins. It looked like Houchins was going to force his way on the high side there, but now he falls back in line to Kendall Paul. Right now, well, you just said it looked like the high side was prevailing. Right now, it looks like Ryan O'Donohue's got a big, big run going on the bottom there. He looks up the inside of Vance Fisher. Vance Fisher trying to get a push from Kendall Paul, but Ryan O'Donohue's got Franco Alvarez right now, and they are gaining on the high side. But right now, with Matthew White kind of just taking the best racing line he can, he's given the high line as much help as possible. And right now, he's actually breaking away from the majority of the pack here.
He most certainly is. That was a big wiggle from Ryan O'Donohue as he chopped that car down to the inside line to make that pass and get himself into the 2nd spot. He immediately kind of plays both sides of the street on Vance Fisher and Franco Alvarez, who's now moved into the 3rd spot. Alvarez will slide up. You know what this kind of reminds me? We talk about energy and lines and runs and things of that nature. You know what this kind of reminds me of, Caleb?
What was that, Murph?
So the fans here, they're gonna note that we do a lot of open wheel stuff. This kind of reminds me of the Fool's Gold that is the inside pass at turn 1 at Pocono.
No, yeah,
right where you get a big run on the bottom, and then everybody just kind of runs a normal racing line and goes back to the top, and you're you're hung out to dry. And so the energy shifts from corner to corner and lap to lap, and you can have a massive run, and then all of a sudden you've got no help. And that's where Troy Carricker is. You see him, he's fallen back to the 7th spot because everybody is lined up to the high side. Same for Ryan O'Donoghue. He made it to 2nd, and then Franco Alvarez jumped to his top side, and now O'Donoghue finds himself in a battle, and for Matthew White, he's able to kind of control both lines because he runs the bottom in the corners and the top side on the straightaways. Big wiggle from O'Donoghue. He's still wiggling. O'Donoghue's still wiggling. He's still wiggling. Save it. Hold on, brother. Hold on. He saves it. He gets put 3 wide by Kendall Paul, and now by Troy Carricker. Oh, big wiggles from Ryan O'Donoghue. He drops from 2nd to 7th.
Yeah, big wiggles and no lift from that Murph. No lift at all from Ryan O'Donoghue, but he able to keep that car underneath him, but he's going to lose quite a bit of spots there. Right now, that's allowed Franco Alvarez to link up with Matthew White, and right now they've broken away from Kendall Paul and Vance Fisher on the high side. Right, they say that Vance Fisher clears Kendall Paul on the bottom side. Right now, it looks like the bottom is the preferred line, and John Houchins is left out to dry on the high side until, they open up on that corner there. But it seems like the bottom is just better through the corners, and John Houchins is dropping just a little bit here, Murph.
Houchins is dropping. The front 3 are clear. We continue to kind of watch this from the drone cam. Welcome Mike Rigney into the chat. He says it was a fun waste of time, and I get that. To get swept up in an incident that's not your doing is never a whole lot of fun. And I do feel bad because half his team got swept up in an incident that really had nothing to do with him. Disabled car coming across the track, and now you've got 2 bullets out of the show. Still got 2 quick ones though, Ryan O'Donoghue and Greg Evans, and I have a feeling we haven't seen the last of that DVD Motorsports crew. John Houchins and Kendall Paul now, they're in a tussle over the 4 spot. Kendall Paul's got some help from Troy Carricker on the bottom, but Houchins, he's hanging tough on that high side, Caleb.
Yeah, he is, but look what that's kind of done. The guys out front are able to just take a normal racing line, and, well, with Houchins being there, that's kind of single-filed most of this front pack here. The more they go side by side, the more time they're going to lose. So John Houchins almost made contact with Troy Carricker going through in the middle of 3 and 4 there. But overall, this is just going to lose them time to the front 4. And right now, they keep going side by side. Now they go single file. That's going to just allow Kendall Paul and Vance Fisher to link up with the front 2 and break away from everybody else late in the running in stage number 2 with 5 to go at the line. Yes,
he does. We're watching back in the pack. This is John Houchins. He is in the 5th spot, and this is where the action kind of is. Matthew White, Franco Alvarez, now Vance Fisher and Kendall Paul, they've linked up, and you kind of see the front 4 there, but they're single file. They are not engaging with one another for that front 4. Meanwhile, it's a hornet's nest from 5th on back. Troy Carricker will have that 5th spot over Houchins. Ryan O'Donoghue trying to rally on the bottom side as well.
Yes, they are indeed, and they're going to go 3 wide going into turn number 3, back to 2 wide. But Trevor Ryan and David Dunn, when he split, it looked like Ryan O'Donoghue or basically just inside the top 10 here. And right now they're still side by side, but look what I said. The top 4 were going to break away from everybody else if they didn't start working together. Well, now with less than 4 to go in the stage, well, that's the case here. They've broken away from from Troy Carricker and everybody else behind, and right now if they want any chance of catching the pack up front and trying to get some really good stage points, they're going to have to rally together and try to work together with 3 to go here. But I don't think it's going to happen because right now, Franco Alvarez, Matthew White are still pulling away from everybody else.
Most certainly so. There's Matthew White, Franco Alvarez. They're at the front. They've got the top 2 spots locked down. Kendall Paul, Vance Fisher, P3 and 4. Meanwhile, the battle continues behind him. David Dunwoody has now moved into that 5th spot. He's got help from teammates Justin Osterman and Colby Pierce on the bottom. Carricker, Houchins, they're on the top, but big wiggles from Troy Carricker now on that high side. We've got 2 laps to go in the stage. It's anybody's race in that top 4. When do they start pulling out of line here, Caleb, to decide who's going to win stage number 2?
I reckon probably the back straightaway on the final lap. Franco Alvarez knows, and Matthew White, for a matter of fact, well, they both know they can get runs coming off turn number 4 and get them at the line. So realistically, I imagine probably a move on the back straightaway up the inside if you're able to make it work. White flag this time out. We'll see when Franco Alvarez makes that move, whether he makes it on the back straightaway or if he makes it trying to come to the line off of turn number 4.
We'll see Alvarez now, the final lap of stage number 2. Alvarez all over the back of the number 29 machine. Kind of a wiggle from Matthew White there. That's going to let Alvarez storm to the high side. He's going to have some help from Kendall Paul, but Kendall Paul not really close enough to assist Alvarez. And Kendall Paul, he's going to drop to the bottom side and see about following Matthew White to the flag. Off the corner they come. It's going to be Matthew White by a nose. Caution is out. Your winner of Blackmagic Studios stage break number 2 is going to be this man right here, Matthew White. So 2 for 2, Matthew White. The admin box caution flag flies. Do want to thank Blackmagic Studios for their support of the AMA Outland Custom Arms Grand National Series. They are a small operation dedicated to high-quality iRacing paints and wraps for any car. You can visit them on Discord or Facebook for your next high-quality iRacing paint. Got to thank them for their support. When you see me behind the wheel of an IR18 on P1, it is with a Blackmagic Studios designed machine. And here come the pit stops, already headed toward the pit lane, Caleb.
Yes, they are indeed. Off of turn number 3, as we said beforehand. I wonder if we'll see all 4 tires. Matthew White last time around, well, he didn't take any tires last time, and, well, it seemed to work for him. So I reckon he will take all 4 this time, but I wonder what the rest of the field is going to do, because the majority of them did take 4 tires. So I wonder if we'll see some right-side tires only go up on some of these vehicles, and whether or not Matthew White keeps that same decision of just taking fuel.
I don't know. There was a car back in the pack, and I couldn't tell who that was, but there are a couple that may have hit the pit entry cone, and we'll see if there are any penalties that arise from that. Onto the pit lane comes the field. Nobody stays out. We'll see if there is strategy afoot here. Click the wrong button, Caleb. There's the pit exit. My goodness gracious. We'll see if there's any strategy afoot. I doubt it. I think everybody's going to get 4 here. Matthew White leads them off. He in the box 14.3 seconds. And so my guess is everybody is taking tires here. My guess is everybody is taking tires here for this final stage. I don't see David Farnan would be the only one who would be the candidate for 2. 11.8 seconds in the box. Colby Pierce, by the way, repaired about 35 seconds worth of damage. Mark Paget is now limping toward pit road. Here's Paget. He was involved in an accident earlier in the going. You see the wrinkles on the front of that number 22 State Water Heaters machine for DVD Motorsports. And I imagine he's going to try to get as much fixed as he can. The problem for Mark Paget is there he sits on pit road. The field is already just about to come by and lap him. So he did get some damage repaired, but maybe only 8 to 10 seconds, Caleb.
Yes, he did indeed here, Murph. And right now, well, we're about to start stage number 3, and this does point out an interesting thing here. Well, we're going to have some green flag, well, hopefully some green flag stops. Hopefully no cautions happen. But that does pose an interesting strategy. Like we talked about a little bit. Do guys take tires on their third final stop? Do they take fuel only? How early are they going to pit? How late are they going to pit? you don't want to make the wrong mistake and pit too early and then lose the pack, or pit too late and then lose the pack just through the draft. So it's going to be interesting what the majority of these guys do. And of course, if we get a caution in the third stage, well, that just turns everything on its roof, and I reckon that majority of people will come down pit lane and take some fuel at least. So should be an interesting third stage and what these guys will do in terms of strategy.
It will be. We're looking at a final stage here of 69 laps, or 68 laps, excuse me, to decide it. We are working 94 of 163. Do thank everybody for joining in. If you haven't already done it, make sure you hit the like button on the video, ring the bell, subscribe to the channel so that you can get in on all of the iRacing fun here on P1.
Green.
Matthew White will lead him back to the start of the race as we get going for stage break number 3. And we'll watch it from the grandstands. Kendall Paul with a big push from David Dunwoody on the top. Matthew White, he's got John Houchins behind him, or excuse me, Vance Fisher behind him rather. The inside line not as organized as the top. David Dunwoody pushing Kendall Paul for all he's worth, but they can't quite get the rally going on the top, Caleb.
Yeah, that's not really a bump drafting, as we always say. That's a little bit more of a shove and push draft. And right now, well, he just ditched Kendall Paul on the high side there. Goes back to the bottom, and it seems like the bottom line, even with the top side being as organized as it was there on the first lap, just seems like the bottom line is just going to be faster anyway. So right now, bottom line is going to be faster, but these drivers are still all thinking, well, when do I pit and what do I do under pit? And of course, if a caution comes out, well, that throws everything in a loop and basically get a green flag run to the end from there. So a lot of these drivers are going to probably play it still safe, at least into that final pit stop, then go all out from there. But they all know they don't want to make mistakes too early and risk throwing their chances away. I do reckon, though, we will see a little bit more aggression from the likes of drivers like Greg Evans, Ryan O'Donoghue, who had been around the mid-pack for the majority of this race to try to get up towards the front of the field. That way they don't lose the pack if that does happen, if there's a breakup at all in terms of this pack. And I do want to point out, well, David Farnham.
Yeah, we're going to have
on the outside.
We're going to have a new leader. That was all side draft. He did that without any help. David Farnan has gone to the lead in that number 23 Toyota. Now Vance Fisher is going to round around the outside of Matthew White, and he's going to see if he can't make it to the lead to lead using the high side by himself, and he does clear David Farnham. So move Vance Fisher to the front of this field. Farnan second, Matthew White third. They've got a bit of a gap back to Justin Osterman, Franco Alvarez, Troy Carricker, David Dunwoody and company. Pretty much everybody single file on the bottom. Ted Craven trying to rally on the top. That's the car in the background there. I do want to point out that we have some intelligence from the chat. Mike Rigney points out that the DBE cars, so the remainder of that team would be Joshua Zorn, Ryan O'Donoghue, Greg Evans, and Say Lewis Hayes, and Mark Paget. Now, we don't know exactly the status of Paget because he's been on pit road for multiple repairs, but they saved a set of tires so that they would have one for some sort of a shootout at the end if they needed it. And so keep that in mind that there are cars that are out here saving tires. There are also cars that are definitely pulling away a little bit. The front three, now the front four have broken away. Osterman in fifth has a challenge from Troy Carricker on the high side.
Yes, he does indeed, and it looked like the top three were breaking away a little bit, but they've caught back up with the help of Franco Alvarez and Troy Carricker. The pack is all back together here. Fairly single file, though, but right when I say that, they're going to go 2x2. That is Ted Craven on the outside. He's going to make the high side work and fight for the top five here, a top five position early in stage number 3.
You know, one of the ways that you can make time in these restrictor plate type environments is the way Ted Craven's doing it. You got guys that are kind of, well, he hits the wall a little bit. That's not going to help him out, but you get guys that are, maybe running part throttle kind of saving fuel a little bit. I don't think anybody's going to be able to make it 69 laps, Caleb, but certainly, there are going to be drivers that try. Why not? You know what I mean? Why not? Why not go for the run? See if you can get to the front. If a caution happens, everybody's going to pit anyway, and so you might be in a position to kind of steal one. And Ted Craven's gone to the point. We saw David Farnan do that, but now Ted Craven, he's moved into second, and kind of like you said, it the other thing that does is it breaks the pack in two, and I'm not so sure that Ted Craven and Vance Fisher don't have a bit of a different strategy here. It appears to me, and we're gonna jump on board Matthew White, and let's just kind of ride on board and give that car a listen. Matthew White is not driving that car as hard as it can be driven, Caleb. I think there's some fuel games being played here, my friend. Farnan loose on the inside in front of him.
Well, this is a third. Well, the stage, I still think it's going to be close whether or not they do have to pit. I think they do. I think it's going to be a little bit too far of a stretch there for these Grand National cars. But this is a significantly shorter stage in terms of the mile-and-a-half tracks we go to. It is a lot shorter stage, third stage, than we typically see. Usually we go to about 200 laps most of the time for these Grand National races in terms of the mile-and-a-half, and stage number 3 is usually around 110 laps. Well, this time around it's only 73 laps on a track that's slightly longer than a mile-and-a-half, but still they can do about 60 laps comfortably, full push. And most of these drivers, like Matthew White, I reckon Greg Evans is probably in the same situation as well, Ryan O'Donohue. A lot of them are thinking, okay, let's just try to fuel save as much as possible and just see if these 73 laps are possible. I don't think it will be, but hey, it's worth a shot in the dark.
Well, and how about the number one of Ted Craven? I mean, he's gone to the lead here. He's got he's got his number one out in the wind, and good for Ted Craven. That's a guy that's very loyal to the AMA. He's been pretty loyal to P1, and it's good to see that car out in front. Vance Fisher, longtime series loyalist, he runs long in second, and I got to believe that those two cars, the way that they powered past the field, it kind of indicates to me that there's no fuel game being played at the front here with Ted Craven and Vance Fisher. Those guys are standing on it. They're going to stop. They want to be out front.
Yeah, they fully committed to basically just going full push. I think if you're within the top 3, you basically have to be full push from here, because you're just not going to have enough draft, and you're not be able to catch up with the rest of the field and get some fuel saving under draft here. I think if you're Vance Fisher, Trey Craven, or John Houchins, you have to go full push from here. Even Kendall Paul, I would say, has to go full push from here. Right now, you can see Kendall Paul is dropping to the back here. He's trying to make that fuel save work. I think it's still going to be a little bit too much. You can see how much he is lifting. Christopher Logan is going to pit in. He's going to get out of the way of this pack here. He's coming up. But right now, well, it's a fuel save race for the majority of these drivers, thinking they can make it to the end of stage number 3. And it's going to be close for them. It's going to be close for a lot of these drivers.
It most certainly is. And we'll see how it plays out. Here's another indicator for you, Caleb. As we watch Kendall Paul circulate, he's got Franco Alvarez behind him, Troy Carricker in front of him. Ted Craven is still your leader. Here's another indicator for you. The fastest laps of the race, 31.3, 31.4, in that vicinity. Right now, Ted Craven is running 32.5, and that's just about the pace throughout the pack. I mean, they're about a second a drift of what they can do. More intelligence coming in from Mike Rigney. He says 20 laps is when the tires start to get greasy, and we need to start watching for guys sliding up into the middle because that's where the grip starts to be destroyed.
Right
Colby
when you say
Pierce.
it.
It's David Farnan.
Commentators cursed there, Murph.
David Farnan just went for a ride. Watch this, Caleb. I think he hit the apron, and it shot him up into the. Well, that was Colby Pierce in front of him. It shoots him up. You see the car go up. There's the loose. Watch him drive this baby. I don't know that he hits anything. Maybe a small hit for David Farnan. Certainly not a meatball. Just kind of pancaked it a little bit. He might. Well, he did not get a black flag. I thought he might have been subject to a black flag. He was on the other side of the pit entry marker. But David Farnan with a wallop of the wall here. 112, 113 complete. Working lap 113 here at Atlanta. Ted Craven is your leader. Vance Fisher second, John Houchins third, Kendall Paul fourth. Franco Alvarez doing battle with Troy Carricker, Matthew White, Justin Osterman, and Joshua Zorn from about fifth back to ninth.
This is basically one giant game of chicken at the moment here, Murph. Who is going to pounce first and go full push? Whether or not they realize they can go to the end from here, full push, or maybe they realize it's a little bit too out of range. We really don't know that these guys can stretch it that far, but this is basically turned into one giant game of chicken, and that could be a little bit more dangerous than just a stereotypical pack race because, well, when you're fuel saving, it kind of allows you to be a little bit more unpredictable, and check up a little bit more to just try to save that fuel. Matthew White has blinked out quite a bit over the last couple laps. He might get sent to pit lane. He's been blinking out right in front of Justin Osterman, Mr. Excitement. So we'll see if his internet's able to hold up. It seems like it's came back at the moment. But back to what I was saying, this has turned into one giant game of chicken, and that could be more dangerous for the majority of this pack because, well, they become slightly more unpredictable when they turn into a fuel-safe type race.
It does. I've often said, as we go back to the leader, Ted Craven, and give Ted Craven his due, right? He's out there. He's running that baby as hard as he can. And Ted Craven, he's out here leading this race. He's got, by my count, 47 laps to go. It'll be 46 this time. Give Ted Craven his due. He's rolled the dice. He says, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to try to lead this race. And he and Vance Fisher have pulled out about a second over Houchins and Alvarez, right? I mean, they are very, and they're pulling away. They've got linked up now, and those two need to work absolutely together. They cannot fight. They need to get linked up. They need to get together, and they need to try to pull a gap on the rest of this field that's trying to make what may be an impossible fuel number, Caleb.
Yeah, and they've pulled out quite a bit here. If they keep pulling out, they pull out complete draft range, I'll just make it a little bit easier for these guys. Vance Fisher goes to the bottom here. That's not what they need to do. They need to start working together. But we might get into territory where, as a little bit of a driver insight, where the tires might get greasy at this point. And it might be a little bit harder to just even keep the car underneath you and even just try to make the fuel, even with the fuel saving, being less on throttle. The car just might be too greasy to even keep the car underneath you, and you might just lose the draft that way. So right now, I believe Matthew White he's either saved enough fuel to make it to the end, or he's realized you can't make it to the end from here. So he has gone full push. He is going to join Vance Fisher and Ted Craven. And right now, the pack is getting fairly spread out from the top six to the rest of the group here.
They are. And look, Caleb, I mean, I think guys are starting to realize just what you said, and I think it's the latter rather than the former. I think they realize the fuel save is maybe not going to work for them. They might as well come up to the front. there is still a group, and it's led by Justin Osterman, that started to fall away from the front 6. So the front 6, Craven, Fisher, White, Alvarez, Carricker, and Houchins, have pulled away about a 1.6 second gap back to Justin Osterman, and Osterman is running about a half a second slower than this group. And so I think the fuel save from 7th back is probably still on. I think up front, it's drivers that are going for broke here. And now Matthew White has dropped way back. He made his run up there, and then he immediately stood on the brakes and let Ted Craven and Vance Fisher go one more time. There's that second group led by Matthew White. Here's your third group, now with Kendall Paul at the helm. They're a second and a half back at John Houchins in 6th, so this is 7th, 8th on back. And this group pretty much encompasses the rest of the runners. Christopher Logan is still out there. 18 cars remain. Logan, though, and there's Christopher Logan. He's the back of this choo-choo train, and he is 12 laps off the pace.
Yeah, he is indeed. And look how big of a gap Vance Fisher and Ted Craven have pulled out. If they're able to continue this up, Matthew White, despite leading the pack and having draft from Franco Alvarez, they're only going 160 miles an hour right now. Well, compared to that to Ted Craven and Vance Fisher, well, they're going 170 with 2 cars. So the majority of the pack is being a little bit dicey going that slow here, Murph. They might, if Ted Craven and Vance Fisher keep pushing, they might go a lap down by the time this is all said and done.
Yeah, the difference was 1.4 seconds the last time through from Fisher back to Matthew White, and you can see the gap. It is visibly growing, and you do not hear Vance Fisher lifting. Let's go back to Matthew White, 157 miles an hour off of turn number 4. He is 15 miles an hour slower than Ted Craven and Vance Fisher as they work down the straightaways. That is massive. Greg Evans, John Houchins fighting back in the pack. That is massive. The difference in time is now a 1.6 seconds for the lap. Greg Evans, Ryan O'Donohue, they roll to the point of this pack, and those two have now, I think those two have said either we're good or we're not going to make it. Again, I'm choosing to believe it's the latter. But Greg Evans, Ryan O'Donohue, they roll back to the point, and their speed is now even with the leaders. So they've said enough is enough. We're going to go for it.
Yeah, and that's just going to bring, if these guys keep going that pace of Greg Evans and Ryan O'Donohue, we know these two, well, one, are teammates, and two, they're 1-2 in a championship. Or 1-3 in the championships, excuse me. Right behind them is Mr. Excitement, Justin Osterman, who we know is good at these plate-type tracks. We know these guys can have the pace to catch Ted Craven and Vance Fisher, and they have saved a little bit more fuel. I still think it's the latter of that situation to where they've realized they can't make it from here. We're losing way too much time if we don't push. Let's just go. And right now, it seems like it's a top 6 as the light comes on here in Atlanta. Matthew White, Franco Alvarez, and Troy Carricker, a 6-car pack at the moment. They should be able to gain on Vance Fisher and Ted Craven. But let's see the gap as they come across the line. It was 7.4. Now it's still 8 seconds here, Murph. They are still losing time here.
Yeah, Greg Evans jumped to the front of that train. He ran a 33.087. Craven 32.505. Fisher 32.398. Those two at the front are getting a move on. The lights have come on. The temperature is going down. The wind has died down. Greg Evans, I don't know. I can't. I mean, if he's lifting, he's not lifting a whole lot, Caleb. The problem is, for Greg, Ryan O'Donohue is not tight to him. And so there's not really a whole bunch of push that's happening. Go back to the leaders. They are now some 8.3 seconds ahead of the group chasing them. And look, kudos to Ted Craven and Vance Fisher. They've decided to go for broke, and they're going. Say hello to Matt Wagner. He's joined us in the chat. There he is.
They come across the line. It was 8 seconds. Well, now it's 9 seconds. They are losing basically a second about every other lap. You do the math on that. They're going to probably go a lap down, probably at the end of this thing, and they still have to save a lot. They still will probably have to pit when it's all said and done. They're trying to make this fuel save work, but they're just going way too slow to probably even make it. One, to possibly even make it to the end. They have to go so slow to even make it there, and even then, it's just a really weird situation to where everybody's trying to save, and then you got these two guys going full bore, going significantly faster than everybody else. It's just a very weird situation. And now they're going to go 2x2 at the front here, about 10 miles an hour slower than the front two at the moment.
Yeah, there they go. Matthew White has jumped back up to the, well, now they're 2x2, and that doesn't help him even if they are going full tilt. By my calculations, and this is by my calculations, over another 33 lap run, Ted Craven and Vance Fisher are going to pick up about another 30 seconds. If the current pace continues, that would mean that they would have this entire group a lap down, right? So they would run this group down and pass them. Here's the problem for Craven and Fisher, right? You lose about a lap and a half. You lose about a lap and a half when you pit, Caleb. And so even if they're able to do that, I don't know that they're going to be sufficiently fast enough to make up the time they lose on pit lane. Last time through, Craven and Fisher 32.4. This group 34.4. And so so nearly 2 seconds that last time through. The gap is now 15 seconds.
Yeah, they basically got half a lap advantage over everybody else. This is going to be a very weird situation. If these guys can make this fuel save work, it'll be a miracle. But they're going 155 miles an hour on a plate race at Atlanta. They're going very, very slow at the moment to even have a chance of making it to the end here. And it may all be for naught if one, Ted Craven can catch the back of the pack here. If they're able to catch the back of the pack with Vance Fisher, right now the second pack going through turn number one, into turn number one. Ted Craven, Vance Fisher, well, they're coming off turn number 4 right now. So if these guys can keep it up, they keep making good lap times, keeping good pace up, just under 30 laps remaining, as we said, they're going to catch the back of the pack. And once they do, well, they're just going to gain even more time because then they're going to be in the draft window. So if they make the fuel save work, it's going to be close either way. But even then, you can't fight them. Ted Craven's loose.
There we go to the front. Ted Craven, big loose. We'll go back and replay it for you. Woo. Well, he's been out 43 laps, and that did slow this crew down, at least for that one lap. Vance Fisher is going to head to the front. I'm going to try to get some numbers for everybody just to kind of illustrate what the difference in speed is, okay? This time through, this time through Vance Fisher and Ted Craven, they lost a second. No, they only gained a tenth. And I think that's the tire thing. Now, these two, they need to stop, bolt on new tires, come back out and do it again. They running around on worn stuff does not help them here. Vance Fisher this time clocks through at 32.746. Joshua Zorn is now heading that second crew. And they are now faster than the two leaders. 32,561 for Zorn, and there's that pack. So that pack may have saved enough fuel to start reeling in the front two. This is going to get interesting again, Caleb. Who's got the right strategy? And if a caution falls, the whole thing goes into the wind. Yeah, I mean, there's Zorn. He's got Farnan and Matthew White behind him, and those guys have started to really go much more quickly. But you've still got like Greg Evans, Lewis Hayes, Ryan O'Donohue. They're still running around in the 33.3. So those guys, you see that pack kind of starting to break apart a little bit. They're still committed to saving fuel.
I bet a lot of these guys are using that new feature that iRacing introduced in the off season, the fuel calculator. But sometimes the more MPG you save, that can affect like how many laps it actually is if you decide to go full push at a certain point. That's how the auto fuel used to work always. So you always had to calculate a little bit extra, save a little bit extra, so then you can go full push. And I wonder if Joshua Zorn has saved enough fuel. We really haven't talked about him at all in the middle of the third stage here. We've really talked about Matthew White. I think he's going to have to save a lot more than he is. But drivers like Joshua Zorn, David Farnham, who have been fuel saving this entire time, Franco Alvarez as well, and even Lewis Hayes a little bit further back, those guys can go probably full push a little bit sooner just because, well, they saved more fuel just being in the back of the pack and not being up towards the front. These guys are lapping about 33.5s on average compared to 32, basically a high 32 from Ted Craven and Vance Fisher. So they're still losing time.
Yeah,
they're
the gap
not losing
is
as much time here.
The gap is now 19 and a half. The last time through, it was just about a second difference between Zorn and Craven. I do want to kind of point out that if you're kind of wondering what that is in terms of speed, the leaders right now, car on the wall in the back of this group, I believe that was Christopher Logan. If you're wondering what the difference is in terms of raw speed, right now Vance Fisher, Ted Craven, they're running around about 173 miles an hour a lap. Joshua Zorn at about 168. So the difference is about 5 miles an hour in terms of absolute pace. When you talk about speed versus time, to kind of put it in perspective, it's about 5 miles an hour, and that's a huge bit, right? The question is it going to work out for Fisher and Craven, because they're now out 50 laps? There they are. We know that these two have saved not 1 ounce of fuel here, Caleb. They're kind of doing the swap thing now, but they're not saving fuel. They've got to be getting close to the end of the tanks here.
Yes, they are indeed, and you can actually see them. Well, Vance Fisher goes to the bottom. It looked like he was going to go down the pit lane there, going through turn number 3, but you can actually see in the cameras, you can finally see the back of that pack there. Christopher Logan's at the very back of them, Mark Padgett as well. You can see it just within camera shot if you get the right angle, if you're looking on Ted Craven. So they can see the cars ahead of them. They're admittedly a little bit further out than they would like to be, but
yeah, if you look at
they are gaining.
Yeah, you can see them. We're on the roof at Ted Craven right now. You can see the pack going through turns 3 and 4. They are just about at the exit of, they're at the start-finish line right now, turn 1 right now. And so they're about the length of the double dog leg front straightaway behind this pack. Now they're going to have to pit. Now here's the question for Craven and Fisher. Is it gas only, or do you actually take tires?
I think with how much
it's got to be gas only.
It's got to be gas. Gas is only going to be probably at most 2 seconds, I would imagine.
Yeah, you
get the thing hooked up. You do 5 to 10 laps and you pull that thing out.
Yeah, I mean, you only need enough fuel to get to the end. They are just about at the end of their resources when it comes to fuel. 146 of 163 in the books. Working lap 147. Want to thank everybody for joining in to the AMA Outland Custom Arms Grand National Series. Mark Murphy, the Freebird, Caleb Brashear with you. we've got a battle of the tortoise versus the hare, Caleb. If you like this, make sure you hit the like button on the video, ring the bell, subscribe to the channel. Matty Wagner, you're exactly right. They've got to get as close to each other as they can. The problem is there's no grip, right? There's no grip on those rears. The track is cooling off down to 79 in the air, 86 in the track. So we've lost 4 degrees of track temp and 4 degrees of air temp. The lights are on. It is dark.
Pitting in. They're pitting in. Top 2 are pitting in here, Murph.
Yeah, here they come, and this is what they had to do. They had to come together. They need a great pit entry. Don't lose the car here. They need a great pit entry. They need to plug in probably for about 3 seconds, and they need to get off of pit road. Here they come.
The pack is in turn 3 and 4 right now. Or 1 and 2, excuse me, 1 and 2. They're on the back straightaway right now.
They're going to get past. It's not a question of whether or not they're going to get past. The question is having enough fuel going to be worth making up probably about a lap in these next 15? Craven plugs in. He actually took right side tires. He is down and away. Ted Craven, 9.4 seconds. Vance Fisher, I did not see that car go up, but Vance Fisher, I don't know, he may have taken a full load of fuel, 10.5 seconds. He's back out. Here's the pack, and now the battle for the lead. You're right, Matt. They're not going to come out the leaders. They're going to come out almost a lap down. The question is going to be, are they going to be able to catch? Are they going to be able to catch this pack? They're going to need to make up about 25 seconds in 14 laps. Given the pace difference, though, Caleb, that's been possible.
It has been possible, and maybe with the new right side tires, that could help. This front pack is still fuel saving, and it might not be. We still don't know if they can make it to the end. That's the thing. We still don't know if these guys can actually make it or not. They're trying as hard as they can. David Farnham's leading them away, but he's only going. Well, he's going to go 165 across the front straightaway, but even then, that's still slower than Vance Fisher and Ted Craven. Right now, turns 3 and 4, they're hitting 173 there, so they are going to gain a bunch of time in that back. Whether or not they can actually get there, though, that's the question.
Well, and when they get there, if this pack is 2x2, can they actually pass them? I am waiting on data, and we have it. Ted Craven last time through 32.415. David Farnan 33.664. They are gaining 1.2 seconds a lap. It is not going to be enough. They'd fall about 4 seconds short at the current pace. Farnan continues to lead it at Atlanta. Alvarez second. Zorn, Evans, Matthew White, Ryan O'Donoghue, 2x2 like they're going on a Noah's Ark. Down the back, and here comes Greg Evans. He'll shuffle Kendall Paul 3 wide, and he'll move into third.
Yeah, Greg Evans has got a big run. He's been saving fuel this entire time. He is full out right now. I guarantee you he's probably saved enough at this point to go full push. He's going to look to the outside of David Farnham. David Farnham on his AMA debut here at Atlanta. Greg Evans is going to look to the outside. He's got Franco Alvarez pushing him. Another rookie this season, Franco Alvarez. He's got 1 win back in the road course of San Diego. Oh, David Farnham gets loose. He's going to drop to the back there, but that's going to separate the pack just a little bit. Greg Evans, Franco Alvarez break away from Kendall Paul and the rest of them.
Yeah, they did. Let's get a look at David Farnham. This is a replay here in the Wayback Machine on P1. Farnham, he did exactly what Mike Rigney said. He got up in the middle groove, no grip, lost the rear end of the car. Everybody dodges him. But what a great save from David Farnham. Unfortunately for him, he's going to lose the draft. Greg Evans goes to the lead. He's got Franco Alvarez in hot pursuit. Kendall Paul third. And how about Say Hey Lewis Hayes is running fourth. Matty Wagner chimes in and says, this isn't going to end well. We've got 9 laps to go here, Matt. We don't know. The time for the pushing and shoving has just about begun. The leaders are now flat out. So Ted Craven, Vance Fisher, they're going to come up short. They're about 16 seconds off the lead. It was a great opportunity. And hey, there's David Dunwoody. big wiggle. Turn number 4, he saves it. And all that does is kill the momentum on the high side, and now they're knocking in and knocking off on one another back in that pack. Evans and Alvarez love to see this because they're lined up like it's a parade lap from third on back.
Yes, they are indeed. And now they are full push. Greg Evans, well, that basically just indicates that he is full push right now. He's lapping in the 32.2s. Franco Alvarez really loose. They're going to go 3 wide right behind Greg Evans. Justin Osborne in the middle. Franco Alvarez hits the wall. David Dunwoody on the bottom.
They're 4 wide. They're 4 wide. Ryan O'Donoghue up the middle. He passes Dunwoody and Alvarez. He'll go to third, and he'll look to the high side of Osterman. What a move from Ryan O'Donoghue.
O'Donoghue's still looking for his first win this season. He's came so close so many times. He's won a couple times in the Truck Series, but right now he is fighting for a lead. Greg Evans has blinked.
Greg Evans blinks out. He is not there. Justin Osterman, the provisional leader. Greg Evans has been put to the pit lane for a connection issue. That's going to make Justin Osterman, Mr. Excitement, the leader. He's got Ryan O'Donoghue hot on his heels, and there is no love lost between Ryan O'Donoghue and Justin Osterman. Wrecking on the backstretch. It's Lewis Hayes, David Dunwoody. I think they're going to save the race cars. Dunwoody is slow. Can he make it to the apron? He does. We stay green. Lewis Hayes, he kept his car moving in the right direction. We're going to stay with the battle for the lead because it's going to get nuts. Justin Osterman, your leader. O'Donoghue is second. He is all over the back of that 53 machine. You've got Zorn and Kendall Paul. Then Matthew White. Zorn gets loose.
It's getting very dicey.
If you're watching this in the chat, somebody send us Rolaids, Malox, whatever you got. 4 laps to go. We've got about 6 miles to decide it here at Atlanta. They finally get kind of sorted out. The front 4 get a little bit broken away. Kendall Paul gets to the back of Justin Osterman, but Osterman is all over the place.
Yes, he is indeed. Osterman also looking for his first win this season. Him and O'Donoghue have still yet to win. We know Osterman has done it. He's won at Talladega in the Truck Series beforehand. We'll see if he's able to get a win here at Atlanta here tonight in the Grand National. It would be his first Grand National win if he's able to pull it off, but he's got Kendall Paul, a 2-time winner this season, or a 1-time winner this season already. Ryan O'Donoghue is trying to make the outside line work, but he's not able to get the momentum on the high side to try to get alongside Justin Osterman.
He doesn't have the help. Now Osterman's going to move up to the top lane. We're coming to get 2 laps to go. It'll be 3 miles, 2 laps this time through. O'Donoghue to the outside of Kendall Paul. Osterman is your leader. He's trying to play both sides of the street, and you know what happens when you play both sides of the street, Caleb? Well, sometimes you get hit by the car. Osterman moves down. He blocked Kendall Paul. He blocked the run. Franco Alvarez just about lost it in the pack. Matthew White, big wiggle, big time, sideways through turn number 1 and 2. He saves the machine. Ryan O'Donoghue is going to work to the outside of Osterman. Can't quite get there.
No, he can't. He drifts up a little bit. You can see him working that steering wheel on the high side. John Houches gets loose on the bottom, able to save it, though.
We got white flag. Next flag will end the race. Ryan O'Donoghue, help from Franco Alvarez on the top. Justin Osterman.
And the record behind them.
Yep, that's Troy Carricker. He went around. Will stay with the battle for the lead. It is 2x2 as they come off at turn number 2. Ryan O'Donoghue seems to have the upper hand as they go down the back straight, and he's bringing Franco Alvarez with him.
Franco Alvarez has a look to the outside. Kendall Paul and Justin Osterman. They're going to go 3 wide right behind him. Franco Alvarez gets stunned. Franco Alvarez and Kendall Paul to the wall. Ryan O'Donoghue is going to take it to the checker flag and win here in Atlanta.
Ryan O'Donoghue breaks the streak of winless starts. He comes across. He will take the flag at Atlanta. Justin Osterman, Mr. Excitement, is second. And I want to tell you something else. Colby Pierce snuck through all of that to finish third. What a run for Colby Pierce. And this is your Rogue Energy winning moment. Ryan O'Donoghue brings home the checkered flag. And I bet we're going to have a happy Ryan O'Donohue when we get to the interview room. If you go to RogueEnergy.com and you use promo code AMA24, you get 10% off of your order. It's been so long since Ryan O'Donohue's won a race, I don't even know what he does. That number 14, you see his girlfriend in the chat saying nice job. He's going to do some donuts. He's got it spun around now on the banking. Greg Evans going to join him. O'Donohue now he's going to give it the old Polish victory lap here, and so Ryan O'Donohue, celebrate away, my man. He has won himself his first AMA race of the season in Atlanta. Justin Osterman will bring it home second from Ryan O'Donohue. Colby Pierce will come home third. John Houchins, Mark Padgett round out your top five. Then it's Matthew White, Franco Alvarez, Kendall Paul, Say Hey Lewis Hayes, and Joshua Zorn. In 11th, David Dunwoody, then Troy Carricker, Vance Fisher 13th, Ted Craven 14th after he led for the balance of the third stage. Trevor Ryan comes home 15th. David Farnan will be credited with 16th after being involved in an accident at the end. Greg Evans 17th, same sort of a situation. Christopher Logan 18th, 12 laps down. Sam Crow, Mike Rigney, and Brian Sharp out of this one as Ryan O'Donohue does the donuts.
Take a breath yet, Murph?
That's kind of what I'm doing right now.
Breathe while we can here. That was that was a very exciting race.
That was wild as it gets. Colby Pierce brings it home third, and I bet that's going to be a happy camper. He missed a lot of this season. He's going to be on the podium. Whew, let's bring in Colby Pierce. Colby Pierce, you've got Murph, you've got Caleb Brashear in the P1 broadcasting booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got a copy. What's going on, gentlemen?
I don't know what it is about these restrictor plate races. You missed a ton of this season. You've been on the podium at Daytona. You come home with a podium here at Atlanta. Walk us through that last lap, what you saw and how you got through it.
Saw a whole lot of nothing because my heart was beating the whole time. No, I just knew I had to make my move when I need to and when it was kind of safe there. And I saw people starting to get dicey, and I said, you know what? I need to get up there before things happen. And I got right there when things did happen. So I ended up being in the right place at the right time.
Right place and the right time you were, Colby, For a guy who can actually talk, I'm going to turn you over to my friend and colleague, Caleb Brashear. Caleb, take it away.
That's a bold statement. I struggle to talk most of the time here, but let's talk about the handling. It seemed like the tires here. You started to lose the rear end. Maybe they just got overheated. Talk to us about managing the rear end of this thing, because it seemed like a lot of our drivers were getting loose over the course of about 20 laps-ish. Talk to us about that.
Well, first, let's talk about the aero. The aero in these cars is something else, and it's really easy to get someone loose. So the aero also did not help with keeping your car straight. Like, you would hit a point of the car or be by the point of the car where you just get them loose. And, we saw plenty of that. I mean, there was moments where you had the leaders, up there, and they started to get loose because someone was not where they should have been with the car. And so it just upset the car. And so, yeah, tires, I mean, you had to manage those too, because you definitely didn't want to get that right front hot. Andy was talking to me throughout the whole race about managing that right side, because last thing you want to do is get that right front hot, and then all of a sudden you're looser than loose because, well, that right front just wants to leave you. So I mean, it was tires and aero that definitely was a factor in getting that car loose and nearly wrecking every time. I definitely experienced it in the first stage. I got loose and got tapped and it got sent all the way to the back, lost draft, and had to come back from that.
Come back, you did, my man. You bring it home in third. What a run! What a way to re-enter the series. I know you've been on kind of a hiatus, so what a way to re-enter the series. What a way to get things going. For being back behind the wheel. As always on P1, you get on the podium. You get the mic. Friends, family, sponsors, shout them out, my man. You've earned it.
Yeah, I mean, I like to shout out my team. Being away as for long as I did, coming back and them still helping me out, and they were big factor in today's work. Unfortunately, not all of our team members survived towards the end. I really wish Brian was here at the end, but it was a good result for half the team. So I guess half is better than none. I would like to thank, No Pass Media, Admin Box, Big Jim's Cookies, and the whole team, just everyone there. They were a huge help in getting me back.
Absolutely. Well, maybe for being on the podium, you can get Brian to actually make you a cookie. He still owes.
Shipping fees are a little outrageous nowadays, so probably not.
he still owes me a cookie. I'm still on him. He still owes me a cookie for my Indy win. But it's always a pleasure, Colby. Congratulations on the fine run. Thank you so much.
Hey, 2 top 5s here at Atlanta for me this season alone. I mean, that's earlier this year I was able to run Atlanta, finished 4th, and now finishing 3rd. So I'm slowly figuring this track out. Maybe I'll get a 2nd, and then maybe I'll get a win eventually.
There you go, my man. Well, thank you so much for your time. Keep going fast, having fun, buddy. We'll see you at the next one.
Yeah, you gentlemen have a good rest of your day.
We'll do it. That is Colby Pierce. He runs in the 3rd spot for the 2nd place driver. We're going to have a look at Justin Osterman. Justin, you've got Murph. You've got Caleb Brashear in the P1 broadcasting booth.
Yes, sir. I got y'all.
So I'm going to ask you the same thing I asked Colby. Talk to us about that last lap. How wild was it? How'd you get through it? And did you have anything for Ryan at the end?
Oh, I mean, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't mirror driving a little bit, right? Just trying to play both lanes and keep that little bit of gap for somebody to feel behind me. But Ryan out there on that high side was rocking. I was fine that last 8 until, I don't know if Kendall just arrowed me or if we actually made contact, but that little slide, little smoot kind of ate my right a little bit. So I had to lift on entries quite a bit. I mean, so that was hurting the runs a little bit. But anytime you get a drag race with Donahue, man, you better be on top of it because a lot of times he's going to come out winning. So I was quite an honor to be running with him again like that and keep it clean. But tonight was really just watching that right rear for me. Kept getting hot. I know after the big Austin Hill moment, I think it was stage 2 or 1, whatever it was, that one got it spicy. So it was really just managing and then just watching the field, pace with everybody. It's Atlanta, so it's always going to be tight. It's always going to be loose. And that's why I love it. So it was a good one tonight. Hopefully living up to the name again.
Yeah, it was definitely fun. It was definitely exciting. Caleb, what do you have for Mr. Excitement, Justin Osterman tonight?
Well, let's talk about the differing strategies. It seemed like, the majority of the field all chose the fuel save, and then 2 others would decide that they were going to go full bore. Talk to us about, just kind of what's your mindset and how you adjust for that fuel save at the end there, and when you see a couple guys that go full push, and then when to make your mark when it's go time.
It's hard for someone like me to just 75-60% around a racetrack and save. That is one of the hardest things I have found in my racing career, is to be one of the guys who can successfully save and actually still be on pace. And there's a few you really look for, and we all, I'm sure, know who they are. You kind of watch them, what they're doing. Once I saw 2 of them go by me, and I was like, I'm about 1 to the good, maybe 0.2, 0.3 over. It's like, do you risk it for the biscuit and go for it? And it's just, you really just got to watch everybody else. That's what I do. And then I always have my saying on super speedways: don't go to last 10, because I mean, if you get there up front, last 10, you've made it far enough. You get taken out or whatever, so you can put the money on the table then, as I'll say. But it was me and Dunwoody and Colby, the three of us, and Brian when he was there. Man, it was a lot of talking and strategy and trying to keep all of us together, because we knew we had a solid group running in practice, and in that early stage, me and Dunwoody making moves and keeping Colby and Brian with us. I really want to give a huge shout out to them tonight. That was a blast running with them. So it was really figuring out who you can work with and keep a good buddy with you, and hoping they stay with you to get through the field, because there's 20 some other cars out there. You can't do it by yourself on this one. Yeah, that's kind of the strategy, is we try to stay together and get us to the end. That's usually our strategy on these races.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you what, Justin, thank you so much for stopping by.
Yes,
You get on
sir.
the podium, you get the
Always a
mic.
pleasure to be up here with y'all.
You get the mic. Friends, family, sponsors, shout outs. You got the floor.
Let's go. I'll make it quick. I know we're taking a little time. Shout out Black Magic, everything they do for me. Dunwoody, Colby, Brian, all the teammates, everybody running with us. I want to thank Archway for the truck side of the league. Thank Outland Custom Arms for riding with me on the car. So proud to have them. Thank you for what they do for the league. Thank P1 for broadcasting. That's a huge one, getting us out there, getting these names known. So appreciate that. Always love watching the replays. And thanks to you and Caleb for doing such a fine job every week. And that'll be it.
Yeah, I mean, definitely so. Thank you so much for stopping by. Keep going fast, having fun, buddy.
Yes, sir.
That is Justin Osterman. He will run in the second spot today, and for a very happy winner, we'll bring in Ryan O'Donohue. Ryan, you've got Murph, you've got Murph, you've got Caleb Brashear in the P1 broadcasting booth. You got a copy?
What's going on, fellas?
Not too much. Not too much. So you finally break through. You finally break through. You get your first win of the season. It's in the Grand National Car. It's in Atlanta. You've had a lot of bad luck in restrictor plate action this season in both this car and the truck. You come through today and you did it in a pretty spectacular way, kind of rallying on your own on the high side. How greasy was that car at the end, though, and how hard was it to hold on to going full bore on the outside without a lot of help?
I kept looking behind me and I had no help. I had nobody behind me. My teammates had got broke up, but they got us there. That was some chess to get the fuel saved and get in position. And when it was time to go, it was time to go. And I snuck my way up there and then looked behind me and well, Greg made his way up there and then disappeared. So lost that help. And yeah, no, I stuck it on the top, and I think the last 10 laps I never lifted. So I don't think I blinked either, to be honest with you. But I had no help. I hope it stuck, and it was a handful, but it stuck. That was a lot of fun, and I was just talking to Colby and Justin. They had a good run. We were all kind of in agreement that was a fun race. It was a little bit of fuel saving, which got a little boring, but it was also like a lot of thinking. That was a big mental race for me, especially. Sometimes at the end of these things, I get a little worked up, and I don't, my heart rate never rose there. I just stuck it on top and said, we're going to send it to the finish line. So yeah, broke through, got a Grand National win finally. And it was heads up, no cautions for incidents, and feels good. Good start to the weekend.
Absolutely. Caleb, you're up with the serious questions of the evening.
I gotta think. It's been a while. I gotta think of which ones I already asked. I think I already asked you about chicken wing. I think I asked you about cookies.
Mm-hmm.
I think we got to go with the old classic. What's your favorite type of cereal?
I think we did the cereal too, but
God damn it! God dang it! Let's see. Murph, can you think of one off your top of your head real quick?
Yeah, so What is Ryan O'Donoghue's favorite flower?
Oh boy.
Oh,
Oh, you know,
Bridget's
We
out here
probably-
listening. You better get this right.
I see what Burf did there.
It'll be
Burf's clever with that.
I think I have to put my favorite one. We'll say rest in peace to the bee balm that we planted next to the garden that I weed whacked down the other day. So we'll say a quick prayer for that little guy. He's gone, but that was a cool one. Nice purple, Bridget's favorite color, and I'll go get another one. We'll get it. We'll get it back.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you what. You know, that's a good answer. Go pick some. Give it to Bridget. As always, you get on the podium. You win the race. You get the trophy. You get the mic. Friends, family, sponsors, shout outs. Floor is yours.
Girlfriend for sure, like always. Looking forward to having her back home tomorrow, run Lime Rock, and she's all excited for. We're running 24 hours with DVD guys and doing spa, so she's got some notes ahead of that one, and we'll all work together and see if we can get that thing to the finish. I'm not sure if Charles was able to watch tonight, but shout out to Charles. He had some internet issues, and I hope he's able to watch this one back at some point. TV Motorsports, all my guys, and I think Greg had the bad luck tonight. Sam got in one, and yeah, Lewis had a good run. A couple new guys. We had a fun chat going with the team, and listen, that one was a lot of fun. But it's all for John Van Verlis, and thinking of him. Good to get one for him in Atlanta and be back up here in Grand National Series. Everybody on the car, Master Surgical Supply, High Torque New York, keep a visual. 80K karting, Sim Magic, Simshop, AMA, all the guys, all the admins, Kendall, everybody that put something into this, all their sponsors, Archway Industrial Coatings and Outland Custom Arms for this series. We'll run a truck tomorrow with the Archway guys and see what we can do there. Black Magic Studios, Track Racer, Rogue Energy, Admin Box, and P1 Broadcasting. Looking forward to watching these last 10 laps. That was a lot of fun. I hope everybody enjoyed watching it.
We definitely enjoyed watching you, Ryan. Thank you so much for stopping by. Keep going fast and having fun, buddy.
All right, boys. We'll see you tomorrow.
Absolutely. That's Ryan O'Donoghue. We're going to get him back with his team. He gets ready to go on to Lime Rock. And whew, Caleb, I don't know if you can get much more exciting than that.
Yeah, that ending was one of the best endings we've had in AMA. It was very interesting to see, you know, Ted Craven and Vance Fisher give them shout-outs as well. They tried a strategy, they pushed as hard as they can, and we honestly thought maybe they could have pulled it off, but just came up short for those guys. And it was very interesting to see that third stage. You know, they were going nearly 15 miles an hour faster on average than the rest of the field there, and we thought, you know, maybe they could actually do it, but not this time around, unfortunately. But even then, we still got a very good finish to the race. Also unfortunate for Greg Evans, he's taken a 17th place finish with a internet disconnect. But Ryan O'Donoghue, we said this before over the course of the season, you know, when is O'Donoghue finally going to get his first win here in the Grand National side? He won in the Truck Series. He's actually won twice in the Truck Series already. And we were always saying, you know, when he's came so many times and finished, you know, always came up short in Grand National. And to be able to finally get it done here at Atlanta, I think this is really going to set the momentum forward for him really set the tone for the rest of the season.
You know, it most certainly does. And speaking about the rest of the season, brother, we've got a jam-packed schedule full of awesome events yet to come. Tomorrow night, join Caleb and I for the AMA Archway Industrial Coatings Truck Series 820 pre-race, 8:35 start. That's going to be live right here on P1. There is no iRacing IndyCar Series race this Saturday, and so that means that the next event here on P1 because the Sunday series, both Dark Horse and Votive, are still on hiatus. Next race on P1 is going to be the Monday Night IndyCar Open Top Split. That goes live at 8 o'clock, and then it will be immediately followed by the... I take it back. It will be immediately followed by the Indy Next Road Series. I misspoke. There is a race Sunday night. Join Andrew Wood and I for a special presentation of the AMA, or of the Area 51 Super Speedway Series trucks at Talladega, 8 o'clock. Right here on P1. Then the regular schedule resumes Monday with Indy Open and Indy Next starting at 8. Tuesday night, it's the IndyCar Oval Series Tuesday night top split at 8:15, followed by the Indy Next Oval Series top split at 9:30. The Formula Indy Series goes to one of their oval rounds on Wednesday. It is they'll be at Pocono at 8:20. I know you're sharpening your knives for that one, Caleb. No Grand National next week. And that brings us to Friday the 17th, the AMA Archway Industrial Coatings Truck Series from North Wilkesboro. On behalf of everybody at P1, we want to thank the drivers on the track, the fans in the stands, everybody involved in this awesome event. If you didn't like that, I don't know what we have to do to entertain you. That was one heck of a simulated motor race. We'd also like to remind everybody, if you haven't already done it, make sure you hit the like button on the video, ring the bell, subscribe to the channel so that you can get in on all of the fun. And we really want to thank the people that really make it possible: the military, the police, the firemen, the EMTs driving the ambulance. Caleb, we'd be remiss if we didn't thank the nurse that unloads you when you get there. From the bottom of our hearts, we thank you all. We will see you all tomorrow night from Lime Rock.